didn't become her father's junior law partner.
Good Lord, Paul. We never knew any of this.
Gosh, Paul, I can't tell you how sorry I am. We never dreamed our gag would turn out like that.
Your gag?
Why, sure. See, after the party broke up that night, we were feeling pretty high, and... Well, it was a crazy idea, but we thought it would be funny to steal a cadaver from the medical college and leave it in your room with your knife in it.
Then it was you? The two of you?
Well, yes, Paul. Gosh, I feel terrible about this, but... Well, that day we left, we came up to your apartment to tell you about our little joke, only you weren't in.
We had to rush for our train, but we phoned from the station. Ben, the janitor, answered, and we told him to explain about the cadaver.
I heard him calling, but I didn't stop.
Paul, will you ever be able to forgive us for what happened?
Forgive you? Forgive you? No! No, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you, do you hear? Kill you!
Hey, wait a minute.
No! Kill you!
Bert, help me.
Paul!
No.
Paul, let him go!
He's choking me. Help me.
I kill you!
Ah, here he is, men.
Grab him!
Quick, grab him.
Let go of me! Let go!
Quick, now, get him back to the hospital.
I'll kill him!
Take him out.
I'll kill him! I'll kill him! I'll kill him! I'll kill him! Now, you hurt, mister?
No, I'm all right. But you came just in time. He was trying to kill me.
Why, he sure was. He just went crazy.
Well, I'm sure sorry this happened. You see, he slipped away from the hospital this afternoon. We figured he'd head this way.
The hospital?
Yes. Poor fellow had a bad breakdown just after he graduated 12 years ago. He's been locked up ever since.
Locked up?
Yeah. He's always been perfectly harmless, though. He just went around all the time looking for a place to hide something. This is the first time he ever got violent. I can't figure out what came over him.
And so the curtain falls on Summer Heat, which was chosen by guest expert Hugh Pentecost, whose latest thriller, Where the Snow Was Red, will be published next month. We welcome your comments on tonight's story. All letters should be addressed to Murder by Experts, care of Mutual Broadcasting System, New York 18, New York. Next week at this time, Murder by Experts brings you the story of a woman who pitted her wits against death. A story selected for your approval by Brett Halliday, creator of the rough, tough detective known as Mike Shane. Until then, this is your host, John Dixon Carr, saying good night.
In our cast were Lawson Zerby, Bryna Rayburn, Ian Martin, Cameron Andrews, Bill Zuckert, and Frank Behrens. Summer Heat by Andrew Evans was adapted for radio by Robert A. Arthur and David Kogan. Original music was composed by Richard LePage. The orchestra was conducted by Emerson Buckley. Murder by Experts is produced and directed by Robert A. Arthur and David Kogan. All characters in this story were fictitious, and any resemblance to the names of actual persons was purely coincidental. Phil Tompkins speaking. This is the world's largest network serving more than 500 radio stations, the Mutual Broadcasting System.
And now, the Mole Mystery Theater, presented by M-O-L-L-E. Mole, the heavier brushless shaving cream for tender skins.
Good evening. This is Jeffrey Barnes, welcoming you to the Mole Mystery Theater, the program that presents the best in mystery and detective fiction. Tonight's story is entitled Goodbye, Darling, and was written by Hank Warner. Ed Begley, recently seen in the motion picture Boomerang and star of the Broadway hit play All My Sons, plays the leading role, and Elspeth Eric and Chuck Webster are featured. Goodbye, Darling is a story that starts with cold-blooded plotting of murder and unfolds into a battle of wits between intended victim and his would-be murderers. It's the kind of story that'll make you wish you could do something to help.
Well, you know, Mr. Barnes, that's exactly how I feel when I see a man trying to shave tough whiskers or a tender skin. Because sometimes he really needs help. Well, men, that's the time when your best friend is Mole, the heavier brushless shaving cream. Yes, sir, it's smooth. So smooth. It's slick. So slick. It's a smooth, slick shave you get with M-O-L-L-E. Mole, the heavier brushless shaving cream for tough whiskers or a tender skin. Try it. Mole. And now for tonight's Mole mystery, Goodbye, Darling, starring Ed Begley.
It is Saturday afternoon. Cruising in a car on a suburban highway are Curtis Tabor at the wheel and Mrs. Lily Lucas discussing the details of a plot.
Your husband home?
I'm not sure, Kurt. You better not take a chance. Let me out at the traffic light.
You think you'll tumble?
Don't you worry. You leave that to me.
You'll phone me, Lily.
Yes, and you come out first thing Sunday morning.
Yeah. That it, up the hill?
Mm-hmm. Got to stop here.
You send the ad into the Times-Herald?
Of course, last Saturday. They'll print it tomorrow.
Yeah, but your
He
husband...
doesn't know yet. I'll sell him the idea tonight.
And what a little salesman.
And I can pretend to telephone about placing the ad.
Beautiful devil, you.
Be careful. I'm not here.
Sure know how.
I better go now. You turn off here and I'll walk out. Bye.
Goodbye, darling. You devil, you.
That you, Lily?
Yes, George. Some letters for you.
I didn't know the mail had come. More bills, I guess.
Circulars, appeals for funds. George, didn't you mail last month's payment on the mortgage? Here's another letter from the bank.
Guess I'll have to get another loan on my insurance.
You better do something.
Did you get a lift from the station? I saw you getting out of the car at the light.
What of it?
Nothing. I only thought...
I know what you
Oh,
thought.
Lily, please.
The bus was late. No taxi. Mr. Birch's, something like that, lives near the bay. You know, if you hadn't sold the car, you could have picked me up.
Oh, Lily.
You and your silly jealousy.
Oh, really, dear, I didn't mean anything. I just happened to be looking out the window. Forgive me, Lily. Darling.
Oh, George, please. I'm sorry, dear. The insurance money's in my bag.
You're wonderful, darling.
That's the end of my savings account. You know what? Sometimes I think it was a mistake to put all the insurance Henry left me into this house.
Here I am, living in the house the money Henry's death brought. I should have gone with him that night. I'll never get over the feeling that I sent him to his death.
Oh, now we're grown up, George. It couldn't be helped. I've asked you please not to talk about it.
Oh, say, maybe that opening in the Times-Herald promotion department will pan out. Connolly said he'd give me an interview next Saturday, but I'm afraid he didn't sound too keen about it.
George, kiss me.
Love me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lily, I've been thinking. Your idea of renting one of our rooms.
Are you sure it's all right?
Well, why not? After all, many people do.
Oh, well, you've been so opposed to it, I was afraid to mention it again. You're a dear, George. I better get dinner, darling.
I'll fix a fire in the fireplace.
Good.
There's a few logs left.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you phone that ad in, Lily? In time to catch tomorrow's paper.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Pennsylvania 66600.
Pennsylvania 66600.
Right.
Number, please.
Operator, Pennsylvania 65097.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hello?
Lily?
I'd like to place an ad in Sunday's paper. Room for rent.
All set?
Furnished, garage, private family. Name is Lucas.
Lily, do you want to go for... Oh, you're fixing the ad?
11 Beechwood Road, Glencrest.
What's wrong, honey? Little Georgie there?
Yes, one time tomorrow.
Tomorrow's paper, right?
That's right. One time tomorrow.
Good.
Thank you.
I don't think there'll be any trouble renting that room, Lily.
No, George. I'm sure there won't. Just more coffee?
No, thanks.
What's the paper say about the weather?
Sunday, mild, probably showers.
Oh, did they print our ad?
Uh-huh. Here it is.
Oh,
well.
Where are you going?
Garage. I ought to start overhauling that outboard motor.
Yeah, I'll pick up the dishes. You might get some early callers on that ad. Curtis.
Oh, good morning.
How do you do?
I'm interested in the room you advertised in Times Herald this morning.
Where is he?
I'll show you the room. This way, please. It's on the ground floor.
Swell room, honey.
Careful, please. The garage is attached. This way. George! George, turn off that outboard motor. This gentleman's here about the room.
Oh, yes.
Oh, good morning.
This is my husband, Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Tabor.
How do you
Curtis
do?
Tabor. My card?
Oh, Acme Motor Sales. Any being delivered these days?
Mr. Tabor likes the room.
I see you have your workshop here in the garage. Won't my car be in the way?
Oh, no. As a matter of fact, I've been planning to move my stuff into the cellar. Got other machine tools there. And...
I'll show Mr. Tabor the grounds, George.
Okay, honey.
Out this way, Mr. Tabor.
Well, nice garden.
It's lovely in the summer. We often dine out on this terrace.
Suits me. This driveway's perfect. Wide enough to back into without any trouble.
When would you care to move in, Mr. Tabor?
Oh, in a few days. Don't forget to go to the Motor Vehicle Bureau tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Get your learner's permit so I can start giving you driving lessons. It's got to look like an accident, Lily. Like an accident.
Well, in Act One of tonight's Mole Mystery, we've seen how the bold plan for murdering Mr. Lucas gets started. In Act Two, we'll see whether murder comes so easy. Say, Dan, what's your observation on this subject?
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Barnes, real murder is a little out of my line. But shaving murder, now, there's something that comes all too easy to some men. You know, fellas with tough whiskers or a tender skin. So I say to them, shave with Mole, the heavier brushless shaving cream. Because Mole is heavier, it not only softens your whiskers, it stands them up straight and lets your razor mow them down in a hurry. With Mole, you shave faster, closer, easier, and you shave painlessly. Try it. See if you don't say it's smooth. So smooth. It's slick. So slick. It's a smooth, slick shave you get with M-O-L-L-E. Mole, the heavier brushless shaving cream for tough whiskers or a tender skin. And now back to Jeffrey Barnes and Act Two of Goodbye, Darling.
It is Saturday morning, just 1 week since George and Lily Lucas rented a room in their suburban house to Curtis Tabor, who, with Mrs. Lucas, is plotting the accidental death of Mr. Lucas. Unsuspecting, Mr. Lucas has left for the city to be interviewed for a position in the promotion department of the Times-Herald. In the meantime...
Be right out, Kurt.
Come on, get in, Lily. Give me your first lesson.
A.B.
No, please, Kurt, not out here.
Okay. Know what George said when I drove him to the station? Said he'd hate to be hit with this car.
You don't think he suspected me?
No. He was thinking of a collision. It's going to be easy, like taking candy from a baby. Too bad he's only carrying $25,000 worth of insurance. Now, look, pay attention. This is ignition key. I turn it.
Yeah.
Now step on the starter. Right here.
Simple.
Now shut off the ignition. Now step on the starter. You hear that? It won't start with the ignition off, but it sounds like the battery could be run down a bit. Okay. We'll have the car backed into the garage. You'll be at the wheel.
Yep.
I'll ask George to help me shove the car for a start. When he's between the wall and the rear bumper, you sneak the ignition on like this. Shift into reverse like this. And step hard on the starter, making the car jump back like this. And George will be crushed against the wall.
I see.
Now let's rehearse it until it's perfect. It's got to be perfect.
George Lucas.
Hello, Frank.
Well, George, you working here now?
For the Times-Herald? Oh, not yet, but I've just been upstairs to see Conley in the promotion department.
Connect?
He says he'll think it over.
Oh, well, how about a drink?
I don't know. I've got some shopping. And I'd like to place a situation wanted ad in the Sunday paper just in case.
Well, I got to pick up some reservations at Grand Central. Meet me in half an hour at the men's bar. Cheer up, you mug. See you in a little while.
Okay. Miss, is this the window for situations wanted?
Yes?
Here, I want to place this ad for Sunday.
6, 11, 12, 18. That'll be 3 lines, $1.23. Out of 5, 25, 50, 345. Your receipt, thank you.
Oh, I might as well pay for a room to rent ad we ran last Sunday.
L-A-L-I-L-U. Don't see any bill under Lucas. Maybe it's been paid.
No, I don't think so. It just phoned in.
I'll look at the paid bills. L-A-L-O. Lucas. It has been paid. Cash with order.
Are you sure it was phoned in?
Not according to this duplicate. There's the date stamp. Paid Saturday, April 26th, 6:15 p.m.
Saturday, April 26th, but... Why, that was a week before she phoned it in. Frank, this one's on me.
Well, here's to you and Lily. Oh, what's the matter, George? To you and Lily. Did you hear me? Hey, where you going?
Back in a minute. I gotta make a call. Operator, business office at Glencrest, please. Hello? I want to check the extra charge calls in our current bill, but only the calls made on Saturday, July 26th. Lucas, George Lucas, Glencrest 2481. Oh, well, wait a minute. I get a pencil. Okay. Lackawanna 487. Right. Pennsylvania 635. Pennsylvania 65097. Only 3 calls on July 26th. You sure? Oh, thank you. Not go on now. 4, 8, 7.
Department store.
Never mind. Pennsylvania 6, 3, 5.
Hello, Mike Supermarket.
Sorry, wrong number. Pennsylvania 6, 5, 0, 9, 7.
What number are you calling?
Pennsylvania 65097, operator.
One moment, please. Are you calling Curtis Tabor?
What? Curtis Tabor.
That number has been disconnected.
Curtis Tabor.
Hello? Hello? I said that number has been disconnected.
Hey, George, you were gone so long I came after you. Now, let's have some more drinks, huh?
Oh, sure. Let's have some more drinks. Let's have lots more drinks.
Disgusting. Put him on the bed, Kurt. Never saw him as drunk as this.
For a nice package. Lily, we could throw him down the steps. Broken neck. Accident on the scatter rug you placed there.
Don't be a fool. The cabbie saw us carry him upstairs. Come on, help me get some of his clothes.
All right.
See what I mean, Frank? She's a two-timer.
Who's this Frank?
Oh, how do I know?
My fault, Frank. I should have gone with Henry. I knew Henry was too drunk to drive, but Lily grabbed me, kissed me, and I let Henry go. He was killed. She made me do it. Oh.
Who's this Henry?
My first husband. What about it?
I see. You're not an amateur at getting rid of husbands. You'll get another chance. Tomorrow morning. That's it, Lily. I'll be back from the drugstore any minute. But wait for my nod. I'll be back there with him, and I don't want to be caught between the rear bumper and that wall. It's for dear George, remember?
I understand.
Get set. Here he comes.
Oh, George, you mind helping me shove the car? The battery's run down. Just thought I'd give Lily another lesson today.
Sounded all right to me.
Yeah, I know, but it won't start. Come on back here and help me shove, will ya? All right, put it in second, Lily, and keep your foot on the clutch. All right. You all set? Yeah. Okay, George, come on now, help me shove. That sure is a load. That's it. Get on of it. Lily, you bungled it. You waited too long after my nod. Swell job. Just broke his leg. Oh, hello, George. How's the leg feeling?
Not too bad. Doc says I'll be off these crutches another week or so.
Oh, I'm sorry about it, George.
Sorry? What for? It was an accident? These things happen. The way I figure it, when fate gives you the nod.
What?
It's simple. The nod was for me that day. Looks like I got another chance. Doesn't it?
Anything I can get you in town?
No, thanks. Oh, I wonder, would you do me a favor? Get that outboard motor hooked over that barrel of water.
Oh, sure, gladly. Ooh, pretty heavy motor, huh?
Thanks. I think it needs some carburetor adjustment.
You want me to start it?
Oh, I can manage that.
Needs a tuning.
Well, it'll give me something to do.
George, isn't it dangerous running this motor down here? Fumes from the exhaust.
Well, there's an exhaust fan in that corner window just behind that bin. Oh, do you mind turning it on, Kurt?
No, not at all.
Drink?
Oh, no, thanks. No. George, you mind if I say something that's probably not any of my business?
Go ahead.
It's about your hitting the bottle since you got out of the hospital, George.
Let me be the judge of that.
I'm sorry. Shouldn't have mentioned it, I guess. Sorry. I'm taking Lily out for another driving lesson. That okay with you?
And if it weren't?
Well, just thought you might like to join us.
No, thanks.
Okay, we won't be gone long.
That's what you think.
Now step hard on the gas for that hill, Lily.
All right.
That's my girl. So you're getting to be a pretty good driver, huh?
Sure is a lovely view from up top here.
Now take it easy going down. Crossroad ahead. Get your foot off the gas.
My foot is off the gas. The brake's gone.
Grab the handbrake.
It won't hold.
Let me have that wheel. Keep your hand on the horn. Okay. Now we'll lose our speed going up the next hill. Okay. Now quick, shift into low. That'll hold it from coasting back.
Oh. That was close.
Holy man. Lily, I wonder.
Huh?
I saw George fussing around the car this morning.
Huh?
Sister, your loving husband's wise to us. Those brakes were okay last night.
What are you going to do about it?
What I told you as soon as we get back. We'll get him started on a bottle in the cellar and have a couple with him to make it look good. Then when he's passed out, start the outboard motor. It'll look like he forgot to turn on the ventilating fan.
This is Jeffrey Barnes again. In just a moment, we'll bring you Act 3 of Goodbye, Darling. Now, a word from George Putnam.
Every day, more and more people are discovering that to get real relief from the most common kind of dandruff, they must destroy the germ called Pityrosporum ovale, which many outstanding authorities say is its cause. You see, merely washing or brushing away loose dandruff has no effect whatsoever on this germ. But one thing that does work is double danderine. For double danderine actually kills this germ on contact. Even in severe cases, results with double danderine have been amazing. And the reason for double danderine's astonishing effectiveness is a special ingredient, an active antiseptic so remarkably efficient many hospitals use it. In double danderine, we call it Alzan. So stop trying to combat this dandruff with ineffective methods that actually are no better than plain water. They can't compare with double danderine, for double danderine destroys the cause. If you're not completely satisfied, you'll get your money back. Get double danderine tomorrow.
Why do we have to sit in the car? This garage is too hot. Let's wait in the house.
No, better sit here where we can hear that outboard motor. It might cut off. It'll be over soon.
I shouldn't have had that drink. I feel sleepy.
I only had a couple. I feel drowsy myself. Let's get some air.
Kurt, I'm sick.
Lily.
Where are you? I can't move.
Lily.
Kurt,
Drinks. Lily, we've been drugged. George, he did it. Let's get out. Sleeping beauties. Just move over from behind the wheel, darling wife. Have a long sleep, lovers. Lily, why did you have to do it? Goodbye, darling. Now, the rest of the sleeping pills upstairs in the medicine cabinet. Must get rid of them.
Any hope for the two we found in the car, Don?
Oh, I'm afraid not. Pull motors won't help them now, Inspector. Okay, boys. What about Mr. Lucas, Inspector?
Oh, didn't you know? Neck's broken. Too bad. He probably could have saved them if he hadn't slipped on that scatter rug.
And now this is Jeffrey Barnes again, bringing down the final curtain on tonight's Mystery Theater presentation of Goodbye, Darling.
The original music for the Mystery Theater is composed and conducted by Alexander Sembler. Any resemblance between the names and characters used on the Mystery Theater and any actual persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
Sometimes when we're tired, we make mountains out of molehills. We putter around till even the easiest job seems impossible. Now, if you're that tired and pale besides, your doctor may find you have a borderline anemia, resulting from a ferronutritional blood deficiency. Then you need ironized yeast tablets. They help build up your strength by building up your red blood cells. So take ironized yeast tablets to get back your color, your vigor, your driving energy. Ironized yeast tablets.
And now this is Dan Seymour again saying goodnight until next week at this same time when the Mystery Theater presents A Lease on Death.
Good evening. This is Crime Classics. I am Thomas Hyland. Listen. The man in nondescript uniform dropping stones into that well is a mercenary soldier, more recently a deserter. He's testing the depth of the well, the only way he knows, since a length of rope is not immediately available, and more complicated machines are as yet undiscovered. This is the year 1778, and the deserter is named James Buchanan. Next to him is his friend, another deserter whose name is William Brooks. These men are in the employ of Mrs. Bathsheba Spooner of Brookfield, Massachusetts, whose well it is. Mrs. Spooner will pay these men immediately they deposit the body of her murdered husband. Right down there. And tonight, my report to you on the crime of Bathsheba Spooner, the first woman to be tried for murder in the United States.
Crime Classics, a new series of true crime stories taken from the records and newspapers of every land, from every time. Your host each week, Mr. Thomas Hyland, connoisseur of crime, student of violence, and teller of murders. Now, once again, Thomas Hyland.
The place is Brookfield, Massachusetts, the year 1778. Scene, the home of Joshua and Bathsheba Spooner, a large and respectable dwelling, 2 stories in height, situated on the north side of the road from Brookfield to Worcester. In the front of it, and nearly opposite on the south side of the road, are stately elms and a well. And in the living room, there's this.
What manner of woman are you, Bathsheba? There's no content in you and no happiness.
And what happiness have you given me? A life that dies quickly. Cooking and sewing. And from you, drunken sleep.
And you've not answered me. You would like to see me dead, would you not?
Listen to me, Joshua. When you returned this morning from Worcester, my heart sank in me. I'd hoped you wouldn't come back.
That I would have an accident. That in some way I would be killed.
Yes.
That you would be free then.
Yes.
To walk the town. Newly widowed with a wandering eye.
Yes.
And you listen, shrew. I am your husband, and I'm your lover, and that's the way things are.
Old man! Old man! Ezra? Ezra?
I've been waiting. Bathsheba.
Wait.
No more waiting, Bathsheba. The time I was away from you with your husband in Worcester. The thinking about you.
And there'll be more waiting. Until it's done. Until you kill him.
I tried, but I could not.
He asked me a question, my husband did. What manner of woman are you, he asked. Now I wonder. What manner of woman am I to love such as you, a youth? A boy who pretends to manhood. You without the courage to...
The poison you gave me, there was no opportunity, Bathsheba.
And a boy who lies. Opportunity. When it becomes nighttime, my husband becomes a drunkard. You know that. To empty the poison in the cup when you were with him, a simple thing like that you couldn't do.
I swear it to you, Bathsheba. He'll die.
When? Go to him now. To the tavern where he is. Empty the poison.
I threw the poison away.
With no courage.
Bathsheba.
Speak my name and bedevil yourself with it.
Just kiss me, Bathsheba.
No kisses. No secret whisperings. None of that. No more. Until my husband is dead. Laugh then. You'll see I mean it.
There's a wench, Bathsheba, at the other end of town. And she watches me when I walk by.
Then go to her.
All right.
Wait. Don't leave me.
You almost let me go.
Boy. Boy. You.
Bathsheba.
Kill him. Kill my husband.
Later.
And that was Bathsheba Spooner. You've come to know her pretty well. You've seen her hating, you've seen her loving. There's more you should know. She was the 6th child of an illustrious man, General Ruggles. The general was a man of great wealth and lived in a style of unusual luxury for that day. He kept 30 horses and had a park of 20 acres for deer and a pack of hounds for the amusement of numerous visitors. He was a man intensely loyal to the British Crown and never hid his loyalties. And so, at the outbreak of the Revolutionary War, he was forced to give up his estate and to leave the country. His married life was also pretty bad, and he and his wife did not set a good example to his children in their conjugal relations. Bathsheba sprang from that kind of a household. Her loyalist background in time of war, and the very fact of the name she had, Bathsheba, were sufficient cause for the town in which she lived to view her with alarm. But keep this in mind. Bathsheba Spooner is going to murder her husband. How? Well, let's see how time and motive and circumstance conspire to get a man violently dead. The man, Joshua Spooner. Let's pick him up and see what he's doing. It's the same evening, and since it's after dark, he's drinking. And in Brookfield, there's only one public house in which to drink, Cooley's Tavern. And that's where he is.
Oh, no, Doctor. Then what would you do? To trap General Burgoyne, very simple. Hand me your tankard, Dr. King. Now, and here, this spoon, the line of march of Burgoyne. And your tankard and mine, 2 sections of the troops of General Washington. Now watch. And that's how we take care of General Burgoyne. Yeah. Barkeep, more ale.
Joshua Spooner talks of strategies and drinks his ale. But mark this. Near the bar, another table. 2 men in nondescript uniforms, deserters from the army of General Burgoyne. Their names, James Buchanan and William Brooks. They've made known the fact that they've deserted the enemy, so their drinks are on the house and the appreciative customers. They're having a fine time.
Drink your ale, Will. Make me a toast and I'll drink with you.
And a toast you shall get.
Burgoyne is a scurvy... Louder, Will, louder, else we'll pay for our own ale.
Aye. A toast. Aye, I'll give you a toast to that scurvy, plump-bellied Burgoyne. May he rot in the wilderness.
That is, if he don't drown coming across the St. Lawrence.
Gentlemen.
And a merry evening to you.
Joshua Spooner is my name, and it would do me proud if you would permit me
Ale is what we're drinking, sir.
Ale for the patriot!
And patriots we are, indeed, to goodness.
Oh, yes. We joined General Washington, sir, and his colonials. You should know that. And from here, we go to Worcester, where a column of Washington's hearties ale. To you, sir, and thanks to you.
My pleasure.
Willie, your tankard is dry, and so is mine.
If you will permit me, gentlemen, it would be my pleasure. My pleasure indeed.
It would be Mr. Spooner's pleasure indeed to buy the lads more ale, as was the custom. True, it was 1778, but the etiquette was the same. Nothing too good for our boys. And the deserters in Cooley's bar were off to join our boys. As a matter of fact, it was Mr. Spooner's pleasure to direct James Buchanan and William Brooks to Worcester to become soldiers in Washington's army. It just happened that one of the landmarks that Mr. Spooner gave the lads went something like this.
Now, mark you. A file of elms and a well. And across the road from it, my house. When you pass there, you'll be leaving Brookfield. And you will know you're on your way. We'll have another ale before you leave.
You're a gentleman if I ever met one.
Oh, a true one, James, my lad. A real gent.
So they touched tankards, the deserters and Joshua Spooner, and they made tearful farewell. And the deserters left and walked the road toward where the elms were, and a house, and a well. Let's go on ahead of them. Let's get back to the lady. Bathsheba's home. Bathsheba's fixing her hair. And the youth Ezra, he's tying into it night ribbons, a lover's tender gesture. Their talk, however, is shocking.
Perhaps you're right. Perhaps the best way is not to poison him.
I say shoot him.
Perhaps, in such a way as to make it appear as an accident. Will you shoot him, Ezra? Tightly with the ribbon, dear. Ezra?
I have not the courage for it.
But you know of guns and shooting. You were in the army for a year.
I marched. I shot no one. I marched upon an ambush and was wounded. Myself, I never pulled a trigger.
If not you to kill him, Ezra, then someone.
Yes. Turn from your mirror, Bathsheba, and look at me.
Oh, listen. Do you hear?
Yes. Drunkards.
Someone. Go to the window.
Drunkards. 2 of them by the moon. British deserters. I've seen them in town.
Call to them.
Bathsheba.
Call to them.
Hello! You there!
What do you want?
I'll talk to them.
A lady wants to talk to you.
A lady? At the ladies' service any time.
Let them in, Ezra.
The Bathsheba Spooner who greeted the deserters must have been quite a sight. Tall, long hair, and blue ribbons. There must have been a fire in the fireplace, and in all probability she was standing in front of it. Her manner was gracious, and she was smiling. Ezra served the liquor. All in all, it was the nicest thing that could possibly have happened to 2 fellows who had deserted General Burgoyne.
And now, gentlemen, a question.
We bow. Bow, James, my lad. Say on, my lady.
How would you gentlemen like 500 pounds to see you on your long journey?
Merchanul, 'twould warm the cockles, wouldn't it, Will? 'Twould. Does that answer you, my lady?
And what would you do for it?
There is nothing that Will and I have not done, and for less handsome payment from less handsome women. Far less.
Kill my husband.
This lad, the one you call Ezra. Come here, lad. The next skinny ones don't take long for twisting. Bathsheba!
Not him. Not Ezra.
Not him, James. Then who?
My husband will return from his drinking. Will you wait for him? Kill him? When he returns, meet him outside at the door and greet him. Will you?
Not only for the money, dear lady, but for the pleasure of your presence to 2 tired soldiers. Right, James? It's the truth. You be the master of this house?
Huh? Yeah. And you are the 2...
That we be. This one was a struggler, he will. Get the woman. And the one she calls Ezra. Aye. Mrs. Spooner, come see, it is done. And a tidy job, if I say so myself, Mrs. Spooner.
And now he's dead.
What will you do with him?
There's a well across the road.
Aye. Give us a hand, James. And you, Ezra. There.
I'll walk with you.
Ah. It's a deep well.
Poor little man.
And that's how Joshua Spooner died. And that's how Bathsheba Spooner killed him.
You are listening to Crime Classics and your host, Thomas Hyland. Later this evening, the Lux Summer Theater stars Fred McMurray in a full-hour adaptation of the romantic mystery comedy The Lady and the Tumblers, an odd triangle composed of a beautiful girl, a suitcase full of explosive letters, and a murdered man will make The Lady and the Tumblers' most unusual dramatic fare. Listen to it on most of these same stations later this evening when CBS Radio presents the Lux Summer Theater. And now, once again, Thomas Hyland and the second act of Crime Classics and his report to you on the crime of Bathsheba Spooner.
Listen to this. It's awful and dread, this tale that I tell. Joshua Spooner lies dead in a well in Brookfield town in 78 from 6 stout whacks across the pate. Small poem by an anonymous contributor to the Worcester Spy, the local newspaper of the day. A change of scene now. Across the road from a cold well into a warm living room. Tableau, 4 people.
Mr. Spooner was such an elegant man. What will become of his clothes in his closet and his horse?
You may have them.
Come away from the window, Bathsheba. Here, to me, close.
The stars are dancing.
You're shivering. Are you cold?
No.
Will is very weary, Widow Spooner. We'll not go on to Worcester tonight.
Then wait till morning. You can make a place for yourselves in the barn.
But the money we'll have now, and the clothes and the horse.
Yes, all of it. Ezra.
Yes?
In the morning, you will go to Cooley's Tavern. Inquire of Joshua. Tell them he's not been home. Tell them I'm frantic for his welfare.
Yes.
Good night, gentlemen. A very good night.
Mr. Cooley.
Aye? Hot grog on a nippy morning, Mr. Ross?
I've been sent to inquire of Joshua Spooner.
Who sent you?
The wife of him, Bathsheba.
Did she now? And why?
Last night he did not return home, and Mrs. Spooner is frantic for his welfare.
Not home? Well, he's not here. Last night he sat right there, my lad, and discussed military strategies with the doctor. Then, to the best of my knowledge, he went home.
Dr. King. Doctor, wake up. Please, Doctor, wake up. It's important.
What is it? What?
Where is Joshua Spooner?
Where is he?
Mr. Cooley says he sat with you last night.
As he did, and left me.
He's not home.
What?
Mrs. Spooner sent me to fetch him. She's troubled that he's not returned.
But where else could he have gone if not to his wife?
We must find him, Doctor.
Yes, by all means.
Ezra did that very well, with the precise shading of alarm in his voice, the concern. A man on an errand for a troubled lady. Everybody was impressed. Mr. Cooley closed his bar. Dr. King appealed to the neighborliness of the other customers, and everybody went looking for Joshua Spooner. Immediately, they called on Mrs. Spooner, whom they found in the greatest apparent distress. Upon an examination of the premises, in the neighborhood of the doorstep, they observed the tracks of several persons on the snow. And on further search, they found Mr. Spooner. You know where. In the well. So far, only horror and suspicions. But now, let's pick up Willie and James. They haven't left Brookfield. Stupid of them, isn't it? But then you've got to examine it from their point of view. Why become soldiers in Washington's army, especially in the winter, and suffer the privations of the military, when they could be warm and rich as a civilian? So, imagine it. 2 tatterdemalion deserters, suddenly elegant, in Mr. Spooner's clothes, which were somewhat tight-fitting. But elegance and tight-fitting are somehow akin. Now, there lived in Brookfield a certain wench whose name is lost in history. This much is known about her. She had an eye for tight elegance. This much is known about her, too, that she went riding with Willie and James on their newly acquired horse.
I'll help you down.
Now, James. No.
Give us a bus, dearie. That's a dearie.
Will,
Aye.
how is it we are riding Mr. Spooner's horse?
Why, dearie, We don't know a Mr. Spooner.
Aren't these Mr. Spooner's silver buckles?
No.
Aren't you wearing his clothes?
These are our clothes, dearie. Come, let's ride some more. It brings the pink to your pretty cheeks.
But the cat was out of the bag. The girl told her mother, and her mother her father. And it so happened that her father was at that moment on his way to look for the murderers of Joshua Spooner. So the father told some neighbors, and they located James and Willie, brought them all together. The two deserters, Ezra and Bathsheba. And this is what happened.
The jurors for the government and people of Massachusetts Bay in New England, upon their oath, present that William Brooks and James Buchanan and Ezra Ross in the county of Essex, not having God before their eyes, an assault did make upon Joshua Spooner, feloniously, willfully, and of their malice aforethought, on the 1st day of March last past, with force and arms, also by striking, beating, and kicking aforesaid Joshua Spooner, so as to inflict several mortal bruises, of which Joshua Spooner died. And that Bathsheba Spooner, widow and late wife of Joshua Spooner, being seduced by the instigation of the devil, did incite, move, abet, counsel, and procure the murder of aforesaid Joshua Spooner. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Not guilty? Not guilty.
What statement have you, Bathsheba Spooner?
I am the wife of the deceased. If what you accuse me of be true, what end could the death of my husband serve? Were there any reasons, persuading, hopes, inviting, or advantages arising from the death of my husband? By depriving myself of husband, I would subject myself to the burdens of a widow. If I hated my husband, as such has been said, could I not have separated from him, gone to my father or to my brothers? What foolishness is this to say I've loved Ezra Ross, when one of my station might have any gallant I please? Gentlemen, if I be guilty, I was not of sound mind.
To the sheriff of our county of Essex, greetings. We command you that on Thursday, the 4th day of June next, between the hours of 12 and 4 of the clock in the afternoon, you cause William Brooks, James Buchanan, Ezra Ross, and Bathsheba Spooner to be conveyed from our jail, where they are now in your custody, to the usual place of execution, and there to be hanged by the neck until their bodies be dead.
The motive, the crime, and the sentence. Justice was simple. And quickly, too quickly for the 4 prisoners, the 4th day of June. This is a copy of the Worcester Spy dated that day that I have here. I'd like to read from it. It was about 2:30 of the clock in the afternoon when the 4 criminals were brought out of prison and conducted to the place of execution under a guard of 100 men. The 3 men went on foot. Mrs. Spooner was carried in a chaise, being then, as she had been for several days, exceedingly feeble. The procession was regular and solemn. Just before they reached the place of execution, one of the most terrific thunderstorms that had occurred within the memory of the oldest inhabitant darkened the heavens. There followed an awful time. The loud shouts of the officers amidst a crowd of 5,000 people. The horses pressing upon those in front. The shrieks of the women in the tumult and confusion. The malefactors slowly advancing to the fatal tree, preceded by the dismal coffins. The fierce coruscations of the lightning athwart the darkened horizon, quickly followed by loud peals of thunder, conspired together and produced a dreadful scene of horror. It seemed as if the author of nature had added such terrors to the punishment of the criminals as might soften the stoutest heart of the most obdurate and abandoned. At length, the place of execution having been reached, Ross, Buchanan, and Brooks ascended the ladder to the stage.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Ross made an audible prayer. The other two were engaged in silent devotions until they faced the noose. Mrs. Spooner, as she approached the tree, was seen to bow gracefully to many of the spectators with whom she had been acquainted. Then she crept up the ladder on her hands and knees. When the eyes of the malefactors were covered and all was ready, Mrs. Spooner took the sheriff by the hand. And for the first time, Bathsheba Spooner accepted the verdict of justice.
My dear sir, I am ready. In a little time, I expect to be in bliss. And but a few years must elapse when I hope I shall see you and my other friends again.
And that's the way the newspaper recorded it. This has been my report of the crime of Bathsheba Spooner, the first woman tried and executed for murder in the United States.
In just a moment, Thomas Hyland will tell you about next week's Crime Classic. The National Blood Program has been made part of the Department of Defense. That's how vital a continuing growing stockpile is against emergencies of war or peace. In the warm weather months, donations fall off. In the first week of June alone, donations dropped 20%. This must be offset immediately. Before you go away, please phone the Red Cross for an appointment to give a pint of blood. You will enjoy your vacation more for having done it. And here again is Thomas Hyland.
Next week, we'll be with you at the same time, although geography and year will change. The place? Pimlico, England. The year, 1879. My report? On the shockingly peaceful passing of Thomas Edwin Bartlett, greengrocer. Thank you. Good night.
Bathsheba Spooner, tonight's crime classic, was adapted from the original court reports and newspaper accounts by Morton Fine and David Friedkin. The music was composed and conducted by Bernard Herrmann, and the program was produced and directed by Elliott Lewis. Thomas Hyland is portrayed on radio by Lou Merrill. Bathsheba Spooner was played by Mary Jane Croft. The cast included Herb Butterfield, Sam Edwards, William Johnstone, Georgia Ellis, Tudor Owen, and Ben Wright. Bob Lamont speaking.
It's mystery time. Time now for the best in mystery. Tonight on Masters of Mystery, an exciting melodrama entitled Death by Proxy.
Sure, I can prove I'm Bart Lane. What are you getting at, Cobb? Nothing much. Just that you're dead. Dead? That's right. Take a look at this. You, my friend, were buried in New Lawn Cemetery a year ago.
Good evening. This is Don Dowd, your host for Mystery Time. Back again to introduce another in ABC Radio's great Monday through Friday lineup of mystery dramas. Every night at this time, a new and different story. Our drama tonight on Masters of Mystery, presented live from New York, is written by Jerry McGill. Listen now to the story of a man who confronted his wife with a ghost of the past, himself, as Masters of Mystery brings you Death by Proxy.
Death by Proxy was plenty offbeat. It started in night court after Bart Lane got out of a disorderly conduct charge with a $50 fine and costs. He was a big, handsome guy, sunburned the color of copper. I was curious. I latched onto him and got him into a neighborhood bar. He had trouble, lots of them. Jeff Cobb. So you're a newspaper guy? Yeah. What's your line? Mining engineer, prospector. What were you looking for in that apartment you crashed? My wife. Oh, so that's why you slugged the guy that opened the door.
No, he thought I was after his wife. He got nasty and I lost my temper. The Amazon jungle makes you jumpy.
Oh? How long were you there?
5 years. I got lost.
And you came back and expected to find your wife in the same apartment?
Yeah. It was foolish, considering we'd almost called it quits before I left for South America. But you know, some women are like jungle fever. They never really get over it. It goes, but usually comes back. I gotta find her, find out if I'm cured. Let me buy a drink, pal.
Maybe I can help you find your wife.
Thanks. The bartender, 2 more, doubles.
Okay.
How can you help me, Jeff?
Well, it's a lot harder for people to get lost in the city than in the jungles of the Amazon. You leave her any money when you went prospecting?
$5,000 in joint savings and bonds. She closed the account and sold the bonds.
Mm-hmm. Any chance she could have used it to get a Mexican divorce?
Maybe.
And you still want to find her?
I was reported missing, probably dead.
But you want to find her?
Yeah.
Okay, Bart. We won't find her here. Skip the drinks. Let's go dig the morgue file and see what gives. I took Bart Lane to the news leader office and left him in the reception room to cool his heels while I dug through the morgue file for a lead on his wife. I found it all right, but with a twist that sent me out to the reception room for a fast double check on his story.
You find anything, Jeff?
Yeah, plenty.
What? Where is she?
Well, first, I want to know when you got back in the States.
Yesterday, by plane from Rio. Why?
Under what name?
My own name. Say, what is it?
Can you prove that you're Bart Lane, the mining engineer who was lost in the Amazon jungle 5 years ago?
Sure, I can prove it by my passport.
All right, let's see it.
The picture doesn't look much like me anymore. Here. The jungle does things here. Well, what's the big idea?
You're dead.
Dead?
Yeah, dead. Killed.
Oh, that. Sure. Missing and presumed dead in the jungle. Not many get out once they're lost.
No, I don't mean that.
What do you mean?
Here. Look at this. Barton Lane, a mining engineer only recently returned from South America, was instantly killed when his car went out of control on West Highway.
That's impossible. I never came back. I don't own a car.
In spite of the fact that his body was partly destroyed by fire that followed the crash, the remains were positively identified by his widow, Mrs. Mildred Lane, of 10 Highwood Avenue.
That's my wife's name, Mildred.
Then you are legally dead and buried in New Lawn Cemetery.
When did I die?
May 10th, 1956.
About a year ago.
Yeah. Now what goes?
I don't know, but I'm going to find out. What was that address where Mildred was living?
Oh, now, wait a minute. Hold it. You're in a spot.
What do you mean I'm in a spot?
Well, stop and think. Somebody was killed driving a car registered in your name, and your wife identified the body and buried it. Why?
That's what I'm going to find out.
Were you carrying any life insurance when you left 5 years ago?
Yeah, $30,000.
Who was the beneficiary?
Mildred, my wife, but the policies must have lapsed.
She could have kept up the payments. Couldn't wait 7 years to have you declared legally dead.
Yeah, but who was in that car? Somebody was killed.
Ah, now you're getting it. If you're Bart Lane and alive, somebody else died for you by proxy. And it was probably murder.
It wasn't Mildred. She wouldn't have the nerve to try it.
Well, she may have had help. 30,000 would buy a lot of help.
I gotta find her. Talk to her.
Yeah, and I'm going along for the interview. But you keep your shirt on. If you don't, you're liable to trade it in for a sheet on a slab in the morgue. And I don't mean our newspaper file. I got my car out of the garage and drove Bart Lane over to the last known address of his wife. Number 10 Highwood Avenue turned out to be a fairly plush apartment building. I questioned the switchboard operator.
Well, I'm sorry, but there isn't anyone by the name of Mrs. Mildred Lane living here.
How long have you been working here?
About 6 months.
Mildred Lane's husband was supposed to have been killed in an auto accident about a year ago. She gave this address when she claimed the body.
I heard about that from the girl who ran the switchboard before I took the job.
What did you hear?
Oh, just that her husband was killed right after he came back from South America. He's been lost in the jungle or something.
That's the woman. What happened? She move out?
No, she's still here.
Well, under what name?
Well, I'm not supposed to give out information about our tenants.
How about making an exception to the rule and just giving us her new name?
Well, who are you anyway?
Well, I'm a reporter following up the story of her husband's death.
Who's the other gentleman?
I'm Mildred Lane's dead husband.
Dead husband? Oh, you're joking.
No, he's not. Now, do you want to give us her new name, or do you want to tell the police?
Well, she's married again.
What's her husband's name?
Mr. Dean, Malcolm Dean. They live in the penthouse now.
What's his business?
He's a builder. He has a new development out on Sunset Heights.
Are they in now?
Well, Mr. Dean hasn't come in yet, but Mrs. Dean, I mean your wife is.
And do you know when Dean moved into this building?
Oh, about 2 years ago, I think.
I see. Thanks.
Well, what do you make of it?
Oh, it could mean that your wife knew this Dean guy before you died. And it could also mean that he was in on your accidental death.
So what?
Well, that would mean that we're dealing with two murderers, not just one.
I don't give a hoot. I'm going up to her apartment.
Sure, but just let's play this smart. Let's get some proof. Then let the police handle it. How? Well, you go up there like the prodigal, returning for the fatted calf. Like you didn't know that you're supposed to be dead.
What good will that do?
Well, you might find out a lot of things. Try it. Keep your shirt on. See how she reacts, what she says, what she wants to do about it.
I don't know if I can carry it off.
Try it. You can always call the cops, and I'll be waiting right here. Well, okay, I'll try it.
Yes, what is... Bart!
Hello, Mildred.
What, is it really you? You're supposed to be dead.
Yeah, I know. Lost in the jungle.
How did you find me?
Compared to getting out of the upper Amazon, it was a cinch.
When did you get back in the States?
Yesterday. Mildred, you don't seem very glad to see me.
I am, believe me. I am, Bart. It's such a shock. I thought you were dead.
The report was exaggerated, as they say. Well, aren't you going to ask me into your swank apartment?
Oh, yes, of course. Come in for a moment, but...
But what?
Bart, it's awful. I don't know how to tell you. I'm married again.
So I gathered. From a new name in this place. You did all right.
But I've got to talk to you. Explain, but not here, not now.
Afraid of this new guy you married? Dean, Malcolm Dean?
No, but he's coming home in a while.
Good. I'd like to meet him.
No, please, Bart. Let me talk to him first, alone.
Why?
Well, explain to him. It'll be...
The same gal, the same Mildred. How much time?
Until tomorrow. Where are you staying?
Nowhere. I've been looking for you ever since I landed.
Do I still mean that much to you, Bart?
What do you think, baby?
Don't, Bart. Please, give me time.
Well, this Dean guy must be pretty good.
Oh, not like you, Bart. older, different. But he's very kind. I don't want to hurt him.
You've changed, honey.
Bart, tell me, have you any money? I mean, enough to stay somewhere near here until I can settle things with Malcolm.
Yeah, I guess I can manage to live a few days.
Well, there's a motel down on the highway at the end of the street. Could you go there and wait till I phone you?
When? Okay. Okay, Mildred.
Oh, you darling.
I'll save that.
All right, Bart. Tell me, do any of our old friends know that you're back?
Just you, honey. I wanted it to be a surprise.
I'm glad. Please go now, Bart. Please. I'll call you at the motel later tonight.
Okay, Bart. You're all set. I told the motel manager you're expecting an important call, and he'll switch it to this cabin.
Thanks, Jeff. I don't know that I want to go through with it.
Why not?
I don't know. It isn't the way I thought it was going to be.
Well, how did you think it was going to be?
I thought I'd want to get Mildred back at any price. Or kill her.
And how do you feel?
Sick, tired, old. Almost as if I were really dead.
Oh, come on. Snap out of it. You can't stay dead all your life.
Why not?
Look, aren't you forgetting that you didn't just die a natural death? It looks like you were murdered for your insurance. It looks like your wife and this guy, Dean, are parlaying your money into a fortune.
I don't care about the money.
Well, then think about the guy they must have killed to take your place. You owe him something.
And I owe you a story, don't I?
No, there'll be a story no matter what you do. I know enough already to be certain a crime has been committed. Now, if you don't want to help find out how and why, I'm calling the cops.
Okay, you're right. Besides, I would like to know what Mildred's going to do.
Well, I've got a pretty good notion. And I don't think we'll have long to wait.
Hello, Sunset Heights Development.
Malcolm,
Oh, hello, Mildred.
why haven't you come home?
Well, I'm busy. I told you I'd be late.
You've got to come home right away. Something terrible had happened.
What?
I can't tell you over the phone, and I'm afraid to leave the apartment.
What's happened?
He's alive. He didn't die in the jungle. He's back here in the States. Found me somehow. Came here just a while ago.
Alone?
Yes.
Does he know about the accident?
He didn't act as if he did.
How long has he been back?
Only since yesterday.
Where's he now?
Well, I persuaded him to give me a chance to talk to you first, alone. He's gone to the Highway Motel and promised to wait until I called him later tonight.
Yeah, well, good girl, good girl. That was using your head.
Well, what are we going to do? What did he find out
Well,
about?
how did he act? What did he say? Does he want to meet me?
Yes, he wants to talk to you. He acted strange. Not at all surprised I'm married again.
Yeah, well, good. Good. That gives us time, a chance.
To do what?
To sound him out. Maybe buy him off.
He said he had money. He looked prosperous.
Does he want you to get an annulment? Go back to him?
No, he didn't say. I made him leave, go to the motel until I could talk to you.
Okay, that was smart. Now listen, you call him and get him to come up here to the development. Get your car out of the garage, pick him up at the motel. Bring him up here to the office.
But what if he won't take money to go away?
Well, in that case, there'll have to be another accident. Now you call him. No matter what you have to say or do, get him up here. Tonight.
There's your call, Bart. Take it.
Suppose she wants to come here.
Well, let her come. Listen to what she has to say. I'll get out.
Yes?
Are you Mr. Lane?
Yes. Who's calling?
I'm the girl in the switchboard at your wife's apartment building.
Oh, yes.
Look, I don't know if I should be telling you this because I really shouldn't have been listening. But your wife called your husband, her other husband, Mr. Dean at his office.
All right, miss. Why did you call me?
Mrs. Dean, I mean your wife, is going to call you.
Yes, I know that.
But she's going to get you to go up to the new development on Sunset Heights and meet Mr. Dean.
Good. But why are you calling and telling me this?
Because I think if you don't take money to go away, they're going to kill you.
Once in a blue moon, you run into a yarn that has more twists than the rope that hangs a lot of people who think they can get away with murder. When Bart Lane told me what the switchboard operator had passed on to him, I knew it was time to call in the long arm of the law. But before I could persuade Lane...
Never mind the cops. That'll be Mildred. Let me handle this my way.
Not a chance, Lane. If you go with Mildred, it's an even bet somebody will be killed.
Maybe. Hello?
Hello, Bart. Listen, I've just talked to Malcolm at the office.
What did he say?
Well, naturally, it was a terrible shock.
How did he take the news I'm alive?
Oh, Bart, he's so kind, so understanding.
What's he going to do about it?
He wants to see you at his office, meet you and talk to you.
I'm willing. When?
I'll come for you in my car. Wait for me on the highway outside the motel. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
All right, Mildred. I'll be waiting. 10 minutes.
Okay, Bart. You've made your date. Now let me make mine.
Who are you going to call?
The homicide squad, just in case Mildred and her new hubby decide to kill you a second time.
How much farther, Mildred?
I was just ahead, in the woods along the ridge.
What are you stopping for?
Oh, Bart, let's talk for a moment.
Why? What's there to talk about?
You? Us? What really happened?
I got lost. Died, remember?
Well, I mean, did you find what you went after?
You mean the gold?
Yes. Did you find any?
A little.
Much?
Enough. But what do you care? You seem to have done pretty well.
Oh, not really. Malcolm isn't rich. His real estate development is speculation. But that isn't what I'm getting at.
What are you getting at?
Oh, Bart, you know. Couldn't we try again? Go away, out of the country, far away.
What about Malcolm?
Oh, I can handle him. He wouldn't dare say anything. We might even be able to get some money out of him. If you haven't enough.
You'd do anything for money, wouldn't you, Mildred?
Bart, don't say that. I'm only thinking of you. Oh, how you must have suffered all these years.
Stop it, honey. You're breaking my heart.
Oh, Bart, don't you believe me?
No, Mildred, he doesn't.
Malcolm!
Yes. I saw your headlights from the office. I saw you park here, in fact. I thought I'd come over and see how you two were getting on.
Great. I gather you got an earful.
Oh, yes, quite an earful, Lane. And don't bother to get out of the car. We're going on from here.
Where?
Well, I want to show you our new development. It's quite interesting. We have several excavations dug, all ready for the pouring of the concrete. One of them will make a very nice grave.
Malcolm, you said...
Yes, too much has been said, my dear. Now, start the motor. I'll get in the back of the car.
Wait a minute. What's the idea of the gun? Let's have it on the line.
Well, it's really very simple, Lane. You're a dead man. You died in an automobile accident over a year ago.
Yeah. So I found out.
Malcolm, he knows.
Yes, I suspected as much. I think he came here to blackmail us. Bleed us white as the price of silence.
Wrong, Dean. Dead wrong.
Well, it doesn't matter.
What about Mildred, our loving wife?
I haven't quite made up my mind.
Malcolm, I was only leading him on, trying to find out if he had any money.
Oh, well, now that was greedy, Mildred. Foolish. But you've always been greedy, haven't you? Never quite satisfied with what you have. His insurance wasn't enough.
How well he knows you, my dear. And by the way, Mildred, who is the guy you identified who died in the car in my place?
Go ahead, tell him, Mildred. It doesn't matter.
You did it. You arranged it. Picked up that hitchhiker, wrecked the car, burned the body.
Oh, so that's how it was done.
Yes. So now let's go over to the side of my first model house, shall we? Being built with your insurance.
Let's not, Dean.
Knock him behind you.
That's right, Dean. Drop that gun. And without turning around. That was smart. I'd hate to have to shoot anybody in the back. You better get out of that car, Bart. You died in one last year, remember?
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Where are the cops?
Oh, I thought they might be a little tardy, so I tagged along behind when you drove off with Mildred. They'll be here any minute now.
Bart, help me. Believe me, I didn't kill that hitchhiker. Malcolm did. He planned the whole thing from the very beginning. It was his idea.
It won't do, my dear. Murder isn't like your kind of marriage. We're in this together, Mildred. Until death do us part. This is Don Dowd again, your host for Mystery Time. You have just heard Masters of Mystery live from New York. Tonight's play, Murder by Proxy, was written by Jerry McGill and produced by Clark Andrews in association with Ronald Dawson and Robert Arthur. Featured in tonight's drama were Everett Sloan, George Petrie, Kathleen Cordell, and Lyle Sudrow. Next Wednesday and every Wednesday night, another presentation of Masters of Mystery. Tomorrow night, Mystery Time brings you Mystery Classics, presenting Death Rides the Storm by John West. Be with us then, won't you? This is Don Dowd, your host for Mystery Time. See you tomorrow night. This program came to you live from New York. This is the ABC Radio Network.
Murder at midnight.
Don't be too sure about that, Wentworth.
What do you mean?
Don't forget that skeleton there. He was once a man, too. Until he was trapped in here or murdered.
What of it?
Oh, nothing. Nothing except this.
Midnight. The witching hour when the night is darkest, our fears the strongest, and our strength at its lowest ebb. Midnight, when the graves gape open and death strikes. How? You'll learn the answer in just a minute in The Line is Dead. And now, Murder at Midnight. Tales of mystery and terror by radio's masters of the macabre. Our story by Bate Blau is The Line is Dead. The gash in the green lawn of Brookside Memorial Park awaits the body of Albert Lockridge, scientist and explorer. There are few who have followed him to his last resting place, for Albert Lockridge was not one who was prodigal with his affection. And so, beside the yawning grave, stands his wife, Lenore.
Albert.
Finishing the short service, the minister says,
And so, unto dust, you are now committed. You may lower the casket.
Strong hands grasp the straps attached to the coffin. The pulleys sing their discordant dirge, a strange melody heard over the soft weeping of Lenore Lockridge. Suddenly,
Listen, knocking at the coffin. Albert, we hear you. We know you're alive.
Raise the casket. Raise the casket. Yes, sir.
He is all right, isn't he, Dr. George?
He seems to be, but...
But what?
Well, you can't blame me if I'm a little hesitant in giving my opinion.
You mean you're not sure that he will?
Yes.
Oh.
After all, Mrs. Lockridge, my position is a little awkward. I signed the death certificate feeling certain that your husband was dead. And now I'm naturally reluctant to predict just what course his convalescence will take.
I think I understand. The only thing that really matters is that my husband's lying in his bed at home and not in the cold, black earth of Brookside. Isn't that true?
You're a very sensible woman.
Albert will get better.
Probably. But we'll have to watch his heart.
His heart?
These strange spells when his heart seems to stop, when I thought it had stopped. Each attack is an added strain.
But the strain of regaining consciousness in the coffin, he withstood that when even a healthy person might not have.
Oh, he's a hard person to kill.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
Well, this time it was a pretty close call. If he'd come to even 10 minutes later, Mrs. Lockridge, no one would have ever known.
Albert.
Lenore, is that you?
Albert, the doctor says you'll be fine if you'll only rest.
I can't rest. I've got to ask you a question.
Dear, you've been through so much, too much for any one person, so save any questions you may have.
No, this question can't wait. That sealed envelope, Lenore. The one on my desk.
The one I'm supposed to read after you're...
Yes, after I'm dead. Lenore, you haven't read it, have you?
No, Albert. I'd planned to read it after the funeral, just as you told me to.
Sure? You haven't read it?
Of course.
Get it for me. I want to see for myself.
Albert, no, you've so little strength.
But I must know.
You will.
I must know now. Because if you read it, I'd want to live.
Albert, I swear I haven't. Please believe me.
You saw it?
No. Look at me. You can see I'm telling the truth. Look at me.
Yes, I think you are telling the truth. Well, Mr. Lockridge, another few days, and we'll have you out of that wheelchair.
Sometimes I wonder why you go to all this trouble with me, Doctor.
It's my job.
Yes, but there's so many people who really enjoy life and yet die. Twice now I've been pronounced dead, only to return to life almost reluctantly.
Reluctantly?
Yes.
Well, you tried awfully hard to get out of the coffin.
The sheer horror of being buried alive. I've always been terrified of it.
Since childhood?
Yes. My nurse locked me in a closet whenever I misbehaved. I always thought I'd be left to die there. Oh, it's not the fact of being death that bothers me. It's the fear of being buried alive. It's the choking, the futility of crying out.
Yes, it would be a horrible way to die, but...
Excuse me, Doctor. There's a Mr. Burton here to see you, Mr. Lockridge.
Good. Show him in, nurse.
Nurse, take our patient out on the sun porch. I'll send his visitor there.
Mr. Lockridge?
Sit down, Mr. Burton.
Thank you.
Nurse, if you don't mind.
Not at all. If you need me, just call.
Now, Mr. Burton, as I understand your business...
I'm a telephone engineer specializing in special types of telephone systems.
Yes. Perhaps you've read about me in the paper.
Yeah, sure I have. You're the guy who came back from the grave.
Yes, I'm the guy who came back from the grave. And it strikes me, Mr. Burton, that an occasion might again arise when I might want to do the same thing. That's why I called you.
Come again?
Sometime a doctor again may pronounce me dead. Perhaps I will be, perhaps I won't. And if I'm not, I'd like to feel that I could call for help.
I don't get it.
Mr. Burton, in case it should happen again, I'd like you to install a private telephone from this house to my grave. And Lenore, you must promise to keep the phone installed and in working condition for a year after I'm buried.
A year? Darling, that doesn't make any sense.
With a stop-and-go heart of mine doesn't make any sense either.
But, Albert, a year?
The first time my heart stopped for 6 hours. The next time, nearly 2 days. Who can tell?
Well, a week, a month, perhaps.
I think I'm asking very little.
Well, then think of me, darling. Think of waiting day in and day out for the ring of that telephone. Think of the jumping at every stray bell, at every noise. Darling, you're condemning me to a slow death, like being in a grave above ground.
I still think my request is a modest one. And the least that a wife who loved her husband would do for him.
Albert, don't start that again.
After all, I shall be in my grave. Perhaps I shall be waiting, too, waiting for help that will never come.
Will you please stop this morbid talk? Nothing else seems to be on your mind lately. Besides, it's terribly late, almost midnight.
When death comes to a man slowly, he gets time to think about it. Too much time.
Stop it, please.
It seems to me that you are only too anxious to get rid of me.
Albert, how can you even think such a thing after... I've been a good wife, haven't I?
Yes, but you might have made Oliver Wentworth an even better one.
Albert, please don't bring that up again.
What would have happened if Oliver had come back from that expedition with me?
I don't know.
You would have married him, wouldn't you?
Perhaps, I don't know. No.
How can you say that? You were engaged to him, weren't you?
An engagement doesn't always mean marriage.
You did intend to marry him, didn't you?
Of course I did. What of it? You know I intended to.
And you only changed your mind because he was killed. That's why you turned towards me.
Well...
I was nothing in your life.
You were very sweet to me, Albert, then. I could see that you loved me in your peculiar way. I appreciated everything you did for me.
Appreciate?
Oh, Albert, why dig looking for a sore spot? It's not fair to me or to you.
I was nothing in your life, was I? As long as Oliver was alive.
What are you trying to prove?
All the time we've spent together, I've played second fiddle to Oliver Wentworth.
Look, Albert Lockridge, when we married, I said I'd put all thoughts of Oliver out of my mind. Well, I've done it. At least...
At least? At least what? You mean you've tried, but you couldn't. Oh. I knew it. You've never loved me. He's always been in your heart.
What are you talking about?
You just said it. If I had died, you would never have given me another thought. But all the time, here, in my own house, he's been living as a memory, haunting you, haunting us. I can't go on like this. It just can't go on. I've struggled with him long enough. He's got to go. No matter what I have to do to crush his memory, I've got to kill it. I've got...
Albert.
Lenore?
What is it?
Lenore, help me. Chair my heart.
I've got you. Now, slowly.
No,
slowly?
I don't think I can make it.
Of course you can. Of course you can. You've got to.
No, but I can't.
Doctor, are you sure?
Absolutely, Mrs. Lockridge. And this time the two heart specialists agree with me.
But, Doctor, in view of what happened before...
We tried to take that into consideration. But even so...
Well, can't you postpone signing the certificate?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Lockridge. My colleagues and I all agree that your husband is dead. There can be no delay.
Very well, Doctor. Thank you for everything.
Goodbye, Mrs. Lockridge.
Goodbye, Doctor. Hello? Mr. Burton? This is Mrs. Lockridge speaking. My husband died yesterday. He's to be buried tomorrow at Brookside. Will you please be there as he desired to install a telephone in his grave?
A man who is afraid, not of death, but of being buried alive. A telephone to a sealed grave and the great beyond. Will we hear from Albert Lockridge again before the clock strikes 12 for...
Murder at midnight. Detective, Murder at Midnight, and The Line is Dead.
One minute. Oh, Dr. George.
Good evening, Mrs. Lockridge.
Awfully nice of you to call.
I was worried about you.
I'm all right. I'm fine.
I couldn't come to the funeral. I tried to phone you, but...
The phone's disconnected.
So they said. And so I came over. I rang the bell several times. No answer either. Finally, I knocked.
I've had the doorbell disconnected, too.
You mustn't cut yourself off from the world like this, Mrs. Lockridge.
Believe me, Doctor, that's not my intention. But as long as I stand guard at this telephone, I want to be sure that the only bell that ever rings in this house is the one that tells me that Albert's not dead, that he's still alive there in his coffin, that he needs help.
You're really going through with this?
He asked me to. It doesn't seem too much.
No, you're only deluding yourself, Mrs. Lockridge, believe me. Waiting this way is only a perverse and completely futile sort of mourning.
I know you can't understand.
I can't. But I do know that this morbid watch will only deepen your grief. Prevent you from making any kind of adjustment to his death.
What difference does it
Now,
make?
you're a young woman, Mrs. Lockridge. You have a whole life ahead of you.
All the more reason for spending some of it as he wanted me to. Doctor, my husband was not the sort of person who inspired affection.
I know.
But in his odd, sometimes unaccountable way, he did love me. Now that he's gone, no one on earth holds any fond memories of him but me.
A heavy responsibility, Mrs. Lockridge. Still, you must take care of yourself.
I will, Doctor.
Assume that he is dead. Mourn him as you will, but don't live in a state of suspended animation. For instance, if he's left a will, don't put off reading it.
There are some papers which I was supposed to read after his death. They're in a sealed envelope in his desk.
Read them. Read them immediately.
No, not yet.
You should. Perhaps they'll contain some message of comfort. Get the envelope now.
Not now, Dr. George, but very soon. Just a moment. Yes? Oh,
Lenore,
no. No, it can't.
it is. I know I shouldn't have come just like this without warning.
But I've always thought
That I was dead. Yes, I know.
that's what Albert told me, and you never came back.
No.
Why?
It's a long story, Lenore. A story you ought to hear.
You know that Albert died yesterday?
I know. That's why I came.
Why didn't you come sooner when he was alive? Were you afraid to meet him?
I was afraid to meet you.
Me? Why, Oliver?
By the time I returned, you and Albert were already married.
But even so, we both would have welcomed...
I wonder. You see, I knew you thought I was dead. No good would have come of such a meeting. But now everything is different.
Different?
Yes, of course. I loved you then. I love you now.
Oliver,
I've come back for you.
Oliver, you don't understand. How can I even think of such things today?
Lenore, I had to come. I've waited so long. I couldn't wait a day longer.
Can't you see? It's useless even to think about that now. He may still be alive.
I know.
No, it's not right to speak as you do, not today.
I was afraid you'd think so. Lenore, I wanted to avoid this, but now I see I must tell you. Lenore, neither of us knew Albert Lockridge.
After all, Oliver, I've lived with
I
him.
still don't think you ever really knew him. I never did, even though I worked with him for many years. That is, until the day we stood in the great hall of the old Aztec temple. The temple we found on that last expedition. The one from which I was not supposed to come back from. We were trying to find a door to an inner chamber.
There must be an opening here somewhere, Wentworth. In every Aztec temple ever found, there was always a room near the altar used to keep ceremonial objects.
I know. Now, wait a minute. Sounds like a little hollow here. Now, what about that slab on the floor?
What about it?
I think that it might... Certainly sounds different. If I were an Aztec priest, and I stepped on it like this...
Wentworth, the door! We found the door!
Solid stone. And still working after all these centuries. Let's take a look inside.
You got the flashlight?
Yes, take the hammer.
Right.
Uh-oh. It's not very pretty. Ah. It is a human skeleton, isn't it?
Yes.
Probably trapped in here and left to die.
Ugly death.
Look, Lockridge. Those dishes.
Swing the flashlight over. Gold. Solid gold.
There are more over here. Look, stacks of them.
A fortune. We found the treasure.
Now, wait a minute, Lockridge. Let's get this straight. In the first place, I don't think we'd be let out of the country with these gold plates.
Oh, but we can melt them down and smuggle them out.
Melt them down? Why, these things are priceless. Besides, the university sent us here. If the gold belongs to anyone, it's theirs.
No one ever has to know.
Oh, yes, they do, because I'll tell them.
Huh? It's all very well for you to play the heroic fool. You've everything you want.
What the devil do you mean?
You know perfectly well. You got all the money you need. Besides, you have Lenore.
What's she got to do with it?
You do have Lenore, haven't you?
You act as if I took her from you.
You were afraid of me.
Oh, Lockridge, don't be an idiot. Lenore would no more look at you than...
Oh, wouldn't she? She'd marry me if you went in the way. I know it.
Why, you fool. She's just being friendly to you because I asked her.
We'll see. If you weren't around.
But I am around. And as far as the gold plates are concerned...
I said we'll see. After all, that skeleton there, he was once a man, too. Until he was trapped in here.
What of it?
Oh, nothing. Nothing. Nothing except...
When I came to, I was there in the dark. Flashlight, the gold plate's gone. Left there to die. Trapped behind a stone door.
Oh, no, Oliver, no.
When Albert Lockridge closed that door, in his heart, in his twisted brain, there was only one intention. Murder.
How did you get out?
By luck more than anything else. I had the hammer and I knew where the stone latch was. I started chipping away at it. To this day, I don't know how long it took me, but when I finally got out, I was a sick man. Exhausted. And by the time I was well enough to travel, come home here, you were already married.
And he told me that you'd been killed by natives. Of course, that was a lie, but... Oliver, I still can't believe that your story's completely true either.
But why?
A man who's been the victim of an attempted murder would see that the murderer was punished. You didn't even try to.
Well, Lenore, how could I? He was your husband.
Well, why should that?
Could I brand you as the wife of a murderer? Loving you as I did, as I do? I had to wait. But now let's forget this horrible past.
I can't, no matter how I feel I can't. After all, there's no proof.
Lenore, don't you believe
It's
me?
not just that. Don't you see? At any moment, the telephone may ring, telling me that he's alive. If I knew your story were true, perhaps I'd feel differently, but... Now my place is here. I must stay here.
Lenore, please. If you feel any love for me at all...
Will you go, Oliver? Please.
If that's what you wish. Yes, Lenore. I'll go. But remember, I love you.
I don't know why it should matter now, but I still hope you told the truth, Oliver, for then. The papers in the sealed envelope. I promised Dr. George I'd read them. Lenore, there are many things on my mind as I sit writing this last word to you. Many things which no human mind should have to bear without telling another. As I look over my life, I know now there's been an empty mind.
I've never had a straightforward human emotion and acted on it. My work has been a sort of shadow play which gave my hollow existence an outward tinge of reality. No friend has really touched me, for I cannot be reached. I married you more out of perverse vanity than love. And yet, perhaps because of your loyalty, some spark of love has been kindled in me. Bear this in mind when you go out to the garden. For there, underneath the sundial, you will find a treasure of gold, which should take care of you when I cannot. I had intended to use this gold myself, but I could not because it might incriminate me in the murder of Oliver Wentworth.
People might ask questions, but the murder of Oliver Wentworth. Then his story was true. Oliver! Oh, Oliver! Oliver! Gone. Well, he can't have gone far, and if I hurry... Oliver! Oliver! Oliver, I'm coming! I'm coming! Oliver! Oliver! I'm coming, Oliver!
telephone ringing in an empty house. A man who is not dead, lying in his coffin, fighting for breath and waiting for an answer that will not come. A fitting payment for murder at midnight. Remember to be with us again when death stands waiting at a newly dug grave and the clocks strike 12 for murder at midnight.
The parts of Mr. and Mrs. Albert Lockridge were played by Mr. and Mrs. Raymond Edward Johnson, with music by Charles Paul. Murder at Midnight was directed by Anton M. Leader.
Crime does not pay.
Let's see. Enders, Esther. Oh, here she is. Audrey Edding.
That's her, all right. Everything there?
Correspondence, her letters, carbons of your answers, her basic card, description, age, and financial condition. How did she tell you she loves you, Ronnie, darling?
Pretty warm. Not for your eyes, sweetheart.
You do trust me, don't you? Leaving all these files in my custody while you're traveling the circuit?
It looks like a wedding this trip, Nancy. Little Audrey is getting impatient. She wants a ceremony for her money.
What do I care how many of them you marry, darling? As long as you and their checks keep coming back to me.
In the interest of good citizenship and law enforcement, we present Crime Does Not Pay, based on the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer series of short subjects. In just a moment, you will hear Beauty and the Beast, starring Everett Sloane. Now, Crime Does Not Pay, starring Everett Sloane as Ronnie Farrell in Beauty and the Beast. Ronnie Farrell was the kind of man many women seem to have a weakness for. Even Nancy Wood, his steady girl, would admit that. Still, Ronnie wasn't handsome. He wasn't big and tall and strong. In fact, Ronnie could give the impression, and very easily, that he needed care and a great deal of mothering. Ronnie gave that impression quite often. It was his business to do so. And as in most business operations, Ronnie's called for filing cabinets, clear, precise records, and the morning mail.
Oh, here, take this letter, Miss Wood.
Where to, the files or the wastebasket?
Active file, Miss Wood. Very active indeed. This one enclosed a $50 check. Ronnie, darling, I hope this will help toward the doctor bills. When will I see you again, sweetheart? In haste, but with all my love, Lucy.
I like the style of that. All the essentials, both love and money, and not one wasted word.
You're so right, darling. Ready for the answer?
Yes, sir, Mr. Farrell.
Let's see. Dear Lucykins. Oh, I checked that against her card in the file, Nancy. I think that's her special pet name, but there's another Lucy, so be sure and check.
And no kidding. Go on.
Make it Form 3A and put a copy in the file. Sign it the usual way.
Right. Next?
Next is Rebecca Andrews.
Remittance enclosed?
No, this one we're playing for a big haul, remember?
Oh, that Rebecca. How's the letter?
Well, I think, in fact, I'm sure, Rebecca is due for a visit.
Put her on the route sheet for the next swing around the circuit.
So noted, boss.
And now, Audrey. Audrey Eddy.
Uh-huh, a remittance.
About half its usual size. Get Audrey's file, will you, dear?
Mm-hmm. Think there's trouble ahead?
Maybe.
Let's see. Enders, Esther. Here she is, Audrey Eddy.
Oh, that's her, all right. Everything there?
Correspondence, her letters, carbons of your answers, her basic card, description, age, and financial condition. How did she tell you she loves you, Ronnie, darling?
Pretty warm. Not for your eyes, sweetheart.
You do trust me, don't you? Leaving all these files in my custody while you're traveling the circuit?
Looks like a wedding this trip, Nancy. Little Audrey is getting impatient. She wants a ceremony for her money.
What do I care how many of them you marry, darling, as long as you and their checks keep coming back to me.
Oh, well, we'll both keep coming back to you, darling. Don't you worry about that. Let's have a look at that road map, hon.
Here you are. Which way around this time?
I think... Yes, this way. Yes, definitely. You see, Rebecca lives here and Audrey here. So I can drop in on Rebecca first and then wind up the trip with Audrey. The traveling salesman in person. And all I've got to sell is just my own poor self.
Another cream tonight, Ronald, dear?
No, thank you, Rebecca. Too much liquor isn't good for me.
You sure it isn't your heart, dear?
No, not that way. I have a different kind of heart trouble, Rebecca, darling.
Please, Ronald, don't say things you don't mean just because you know I'll be happy hearing them.
Rebecca, we've known each other how long now?
Over 2 years. Just a little over 2 years.
And you're not an unattractive woman, correct?
I hope so, Ronald.
And forgive me for being blunt, my dear, but have I ever even tried to put a hand on you?
That's true. You haven't.
Does that mean anything, dear? Nothing at all?
It could mean several things.
For instance?
That you don't think I'm worth it.
Don't even say that. Don't even think it. You're a very exciting woman, you know that.
Or you could feel only respect.
No, that's not true either. You know by now that I'd marry you in a minute. If it was possible.
Why isn't it possible?
I'd rather not discuss that.
You're not married, are you, Ronald?
No. Would I be married and speak to you like this, feeling as I do?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Why do you hesitate, Ronald?
You really want me to tell you?
Yes, I do.
All right, then. It's because I couldn't support you the way you should be supported. Not even in the style to which you're accustomed right now.
Then it's only my money.
Only money?
Ronald, if you had sufficient capital to starve your foolish pride,
I wouldn't hesitate for one moment.
Ronnie, dear, when you come back from your next trip, you and I will visit my lawyer.
Lawyer? What for?
They'll have the papers ready. I'll make you a settlement, my dear. And after that...
After that, it'll be Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Farrell. That's for sure, my sweet. That's for sure. Well, lady, what's your wish tonight?
Why, Ronnie, have you seen the first star?
Oh, Audrey, my love, when I have your eyes to look at...
Never mind that. Look at the road, darling, and we'll both wind up in the ditch.
Oh, love in a ditch with you.
Ronnie?
Yes, Audrey, darling?
You make chit-chat like this. You're either evading something or stalling for time. Which is it?
You, know me rather well, don't you?
Stop it, darling, and answer my question. Which is it?
You win, sweetheart. I'm stalling.
Why?
Because I'm trying to find out the answer to a question without asking the question.
A question? For instance, how long am I going to put up with your antics?
Audrey.
That's a pretty good question, you know, darling. After all, I've been, shall we say, contributing to your income for several months. I think I made it clear the last time that this won't go on forever.
Audrey, please, this sort of
Let's
talk...
be frank, Ronnie, darling. I'm not as young as Don, nor as attractive. That goes for you, too, you know. Together, we'd probably be decently happy. That's the sum of it.
A perfect statement, and at the perfect moment. Also, an answer to my unasked question.
Ronnie, why are you stopping? Why here?
For several reasons. Audrey, you just said you wanted to marry me, haven't you?
Suppose I have.
That answers my question. Now then, just a few yards up the road, you see that gate and the sign?
Stop the mystery, Ronnie.
No, answer the question, please.
Of course I see them. I can't read the sign, though. Not in this moonlight.
Well, come along, then. Let's walk up to where it will be readable. No, stay there, darling. At a moment like this, let me at least come round and open the door for you.
All right, Sir Walter Raleigh. For goodness sake, get it done with.
Your Majesty, if you will but a light.
Thank you, kind sir. All right, now. With the heels I'm wearing, more than 50 yards on this road will be plain murder.
No need to worry. I just didn't want to block the driveway. That's why I parked back there.
It is quiet, though. And the moonlight on that thing. I ought to know better, Ronnie, but, well, I'm just incurably romantic.
Okay, Audrey, darling. Now can you read the sign?
I guess so. David Pierce, Justice of the Peace. Ronnie. Oh, Ronnie.
That's right, sweet. And he's expecting us. Will you join me in a wedding, Miss Eddie? Nancy! You home, Nancy?
Am I home, Ronnie? Oh, Ronnie, I'm beginning to miss you on these jaunts you take. I really am.
Company propaganda affecting you, Nancy?
Maybe. Papa bring home the bacon?
Papa brought home a copy of the paper. Better than bacon.
Ronnie, you did marry her.
Yeah, I did that.
Which one?
Audrey, according to plan.
What, no honeymoon?
Oh, sure, we had that. A weekend. And then poor Ronnie had to go right back to work. The life of a traveling salesman is tough, Nancy. Real tough.
You received a small communication while you were away, dear.
So? You open it?
I opened the telegrams, dear, remember? It's the letters you reserved for your eyes alone.
Where?
Oh, in here on the desk. How do you explain a husband's absences from home? Not as easy as a fiancé's.
Oh, Audrey believes me. Now that I'm married to her and have my dower right in 1/3 of her property, she believes everything I tell her. She's quite a beautiful little wife. Is this the wire?
Uh-huh. See? Settlement papers all drawn, awaiting your return. Hurry, my darling. Love, Rebecca.
She really did it.
You didn't think she would? A large settlement?
I expect so.
And you had to go and marry the other one.
Look, remember what you said before this last trip, Nancy? You don't care how many I marry as long as I come back to you.
Ronnie, you wouldn't dare.
Wouldn't I? Why not? Who'll ever know? And when it's all done, we'll have them both in the bag, darling. We'll have their dough, both of them. And they'll have some beautiful memories. A fair exchange, I'd say. A fair exchange.
In just a moment, Crime Does Not Pay will continue with Beauty and the Beast. Now we continue with Crime Does Not Pay, starring Everett Sloane as Ronnie Farrell in Beauty and the Beast. Just as Ronnie Farrell liked to express it, everything went according to plan. Ronnie kissed Nancy goodbye, temporarily of course, and joined Rebecca in matrimony, not neglecting to visit several of his numerous other fiancées along the route. And most important, not neglecting to obtain the settlement from Rebecca before the final ceremony was performed. And then, much to Ronnie's surprise, Rebecca seemed to change a little.
Rebecca,
Yes, dear?
you know, it's 2 weeks now since I did a lick of work. Don't you think it's high time I started on my next trip?
I've told you, dear, you don't have to work so hard anymore.
Yes, but, well, I like my work. I enjoy it.
Don't you enjoy being with me?
Oh, yes, but a man can't just, well, idle his life away.
You have money now, Ronnie, dear. A nice sum. Why not enjoy it?
But I feel so useless. I want to be out and traveling.
Are you sure you don't want just to be out and traveling away from me?
Rebecca.
Why don't you answer my question, darling?
Well, of course I don't want to be away from you.
Ronnie,
Yes, dear?
you're a liar, darling.
Rebecca.
I knew from the beginning I couldn't hold you, but I thought it would be longer than 2 weeks.
But, my dear...
No, don't say anything. Let me finish. You're bored and restless with your small-town wife. You have money now, my money, but no place to spend it. And you never think of spending it on me. You haven't even bought me a wedding present. You kissed me as if I were the maid and you snatched a kiss behind the kitchen door. You're charming, Ronnie, but you're a rotten liar. You don't love me, and I don't believe you ever loved me.
Rebecca, of all the silly, hysterical, foolish things
So
to
I'm
say...
silly and hysterical. You didn't say that 2 months
I
ago.
said a lot of things then. You want to review them, dearest?
No, I don't. But I think I will ask my lawyer to review that settlement. I thought I bought myself a loving husband, not a sneering
That's
waste.
about all I'll take, Mrs. Farrell. This whole argument started when I said I wanted to get back to work.
In order to get away from me.
In order not to be lazy and wasteful. You can't make up your mind what you want, a lapdog or a husband. And until you do make up your mind, don't expect to find me around this house.
Oh, Ronnie, where are you going? You haven't finished your breakfast.
I'm going out. And don't expect me back for some time.
Ronnie, come back. Come back. No, I won't. I won't scream. I won't. I'll get him back. I will. I will.
You want me, Audrey, dear?
Almost ready to go.
In a minute. Finishing my coffee. Oh, darling, you look lovely today.
Only today?
Always. And your coffee is excellent.
Then why don't you drink more of it?
Why don't I?
Yes, dear. Why aren't you around with your loving wife more often? Sit down, dear.
Yes, dear.
Of course, there's one advantage to having a husband who's away as much as you are. We don't get a chance to be bored with each other, do we?
No, we certainly don't.
And then there's the other side of the picture, too. While the master's away, who knows? That's yours. It's on the morning. I'll get it, dear. Finish your coffee.
Thanks, dear.
How do you do? My name is Mrs. Ronnie Farrell. Well, what? Now, may I have your name again? There's no need for you to be frightened, you know. I said, my name is Mrs. Ronald Farrell. But I'm Mrs. Ronald Farrell.
Oh, no. Oh, she couldn't have.
He's here. I followed him yesterday. I didn't get up to praise until today. I came to the back door.
While I get out the front door, Ronnie, my boy, make yourself plenty scarce and fast. Oh, Nancy, hon. That I would like to have seen when those two biddies came into Audrey's dining room and found the bird had flown.
You're something of a stinker, aren't you, darling?
Well, I'm not in this business, dear, for anybody's health except my own.
You know, darling, I think I'm beginning to like your wives, from what you told me about them and what I found in your confidential files.
You like them? You read those files?
Oh, Ronnie, please, you're not that naive. You didn't really think I stayed away from those letters, did you?
No, I suppose I didn't, really.
So, from what I know about Rebecca and Audrey, I rather like them. Rebecca's sweet, in her way.
No.
And Audrey has a kind of whimsy overlaid on a sentimental wisdom.
Well, what's all this leading up to, Nancy?
That I think you're something of a louse, Ronnie, dear.
Well, this we've known for a long time.
And I don't trust you one little bit. Well, now that you're a bigamist, and I have letters from your wives to prove it, And I know where your wives are and can reach them any time.
What are you driving at, Nancy?
Money, darling. Lots of money. Which you're going to get for Nancy by going back to Rebecca and Audrey, using your charm to get their forgiveness and their bankrolls.
I can't. I won't.
Bigamy's roughly 10 to 20 years in this state, darling. I looked it up.
But you've always shared with me, Nancy.
Yes, dear. And now I'll let you have a salary and a small cut of the profit. I'm running the show now, darling, so on your way, salesman. Let's see how you like to crawl for your life, Casanova.
Rebecca, it's me, Ronnie. Open the door, dear. I'm back. Rebecca!
Nobody home there, mister. Nobody been there for days.
Oh, well, I'm Mr. Farrell. Remember me?
Yeah, I know your face, I guess. She ain't there. No use knocking.
Well, didn't she leave any word for me?
Not for you nor nobody. Not even the milkman. I turned off the milk for her myself. You seem she was staying away for a bit. You need her bad. Why don't you see your lawyers? They ought to know where she is.
Audrey? Anybody home?
Looking for Miss Eddie, mister? Hey, you're the fella she married. I saw you once on the front porch.
Yes, I'm her husband. Has she been gone long? I lost my key. I can't get in.
Oh, I can tell you're not married long. My husband climbed right through the dining room window. Not that I'd be out when he came home.
Look, do you have any idea where my wife has gone?
I wouldn't that, Mr. Farrell. I'm a great one for minding nobody's business but my own. Still, I don't mind telling you that for the past few days, another woman's been living with her. Woman that cried a lot. The two of them looked so grim you'd think they was heading for an execution or somebody's funeral or something.
I told you, Ronnie, you don't get in. Not until you show me they've forgiven you. Greenback forgiveness.
This is my apartment, Nancy. I want in.
Oh, no, you don't. I'm holding the fort and the mail. Checks included.
Cut it out, Nancy. I'm warning you.
And when the check's stuff, oh, what the Sunday supplements will pay for this story. With letters attached. An active file of 500 gals. All contributors. I had no idea your territory was so wide until I checked the file.
I'm coming in.
Stop it, Ronnie. I'm shutting the door.
I said I'm coming in. Yeah. In fact, I am in.
So what? You're in. Okay.
Now, Miss Nancy Wood, let's begin at the beginning.
That was a long time ago.
Was it? Seems like just yesterday. Sit down, Miss Wood.
I'll stand.
I said sit down.
I won't.
Sit down.
Where do you think this gets you? You think I'll keep quiet when I...
Once you get out of here? You really think you will get out of here, Nancy, dear?
Ronnie.
I often wondered these past few days what you'd sound like on the receiving end of the beating you deserve.
I deserve. Ronnie, no. Don't touch me. No! Don't touch me, I said.
Somebody should have done this. Here.
And go. My throat.
You were beautiful, weren't you? But you die easy. Easy. Yes. They'll all die easy.
Not too easily, Ronnie. Now we'll have you for murder as well as bigamy.
Audrey. Rebecca.
Ronald, I never thought you'd really kill that girl.
Just let me get my hands on
Don't
you.
move, Ronnie. I couldn't possibly miss at this distance unless I want to.
No, don't shoot. Shoot, please don't shoot.
Here's the phone, will you, Rebecca? Like we planned. Call the police. Yes, of course I'll do it.
No, let me go. I'll give you back.
Our self-respect? You couldn't. The only way we could get that back is to take you in ourselves. But we didn't expect to take a killer. Sit down, Mr. Farrell. The Mrs. Farrells will keep you company for a while. Please? This is Miss Rebecca Andrews. Please come at once. I'm holding my husband for you. He's just committed murder as well as bigamy.
Fine does not pay. Everett Sloan, who was starred as Ronnie Farrell in Beauty and the Beast, will be back with you in just a moment. Now, here in person is Everett Sloan.
It's customary at the close of this program to point a moral. Well, looking back at Ronnie Farrell and his kind of man, of which there are too many in this world, I think a word is called for to the nice, decent, unsuspecting women who pay in self-respect as well as in money when crimes like Ronnie's come to light. True, loneliness and emotions take command at times when the head ought to rule the heart. It's the old story of look before you leap and think first before you act. More, if you think about this type of crime and criminal for a moment, you'll see, I'm sure, to what a great extent it's true that for the sinned against, as well as for the sinner, crime does not pay.
Thank you, Mr. Sloan. Crime Does Not Pay is written by Ira Marion and directed by Mark B. Lowe, with music composed and conducted by John Garth. Technical advisor is Burton B. Turkis. The events, characters, and names used in the story you've just heard are fictitious. Any similarity is purely coincidental.
Mystery House. Mystery House, that strange publishing firm owned by Dan and Barbara Glenn, where each new novel is acted out by the Mystery House staff before it is accepted for publication. Mystery House.
Well, hi, Barbie. The story we're trying out for Mystery House tonight deals with freaks, you said. Circus, sideshow people?
That's right, Dan. And they're unlike any people you've ever known. Completely unreal from our way of looking at things. And yet such people actually exist.
Sounds like it ought to be a dandy. Sideshow atmosphere, barkers, all that sort of thing?
You know, Mr. Glenn, the sideshow barker was a forerunner of the radio announcer.
Uh-oh. I feel that remark's leading up to something, Tom.
As a matter of fact, it is. It's leading up to a message from our sponsor.
Okay, Tom, set the scene.
Malice in Wonderland. That's right, folks. I said Wonderland. The great Wonderland Circus Sideshow with the most gargantuan collection of freaks, monstrosities, and curiosities ever assembled under canvas. Nellie, the bearded lady. Jolly Della, who tips the scales at 500 and breaks them at 550. Giuseppe, the greatest sword swallower in the world. Enigma, the living zombie. Moke and Poke, the jungle monstrosities. And Professor Fletch, the greatest magician the world has ever known. For this one performance only, see 'em all. Don't crowd, don't push. The ticket line foams at the right.
This outfit's jinxed if ever I saw one it was. Why, I ain't gonna be a fat lady no longer if we don't start hitting some business. Wonderland. The wonder is how Flash manages to keep us going. I'm worrying myself half to death wondering when we're going to close.
Well, you haven't lost any weight, Della. You look real good.
Well, thanks, Millie.
It's that midget, Major Tembo. He's a jinx. We've had nothing but trouble since he joined the show.
Oh, there's Enigma. He wants a drink of water.
Oh, I'll get it for him. You suppose that's a racket? Or can't Enigma move a muscle except the little finger of his left hand?
Well, if it is a racket, Millie, it's a tough one. Imagine being sprawled out on a cot that way all your life and not being able to say anything or do anything. Just ring a little bell with the little finger of your left hand.
I'll be right back. Oh, hello, Giuseppe.
Hello. 4 picture postcards of myself I sold the last show. Me, the great Giuseppe, the world's finest sword swallower. 40 cents.
It's that Major Timbo.
Major Tembo is too big in the brain for the rest of his body. Someday I run a sword right down his mouth to the tip of his toes.
He sure got Millie sore saying her beard was a fake.
And what did he tell me? That my swords are fake. Me, the great Giuseppe.
You know, I've seen sideshow people get sucker sore, sick of having people stare at them. But it ain't just the toners Major Timbo hates. He don't seem to like nobody.
Oh, there you are, Giuseppe.
Oh,
Hello.
Been looking all over for you. It's time to start the ballet for the next show, Giuseppe.
I am not doing the ballet.
What?
I said I am not doing the ballet.
Look, Giuseppe, you ain't an opera star. How do you think we get the customers in here? You're doing the ballyhoo all right, and right now.
No.
Ah, leave him alone, Flash. He's down in the mouth.
Well, that's the way a sword swallower ought to be, ain't it? Down in the mouth. Get it?
You're a riot, Flash.
Yeah, okay. Come on, snap out of it, Giuseppe. We got to stir up a tip, get a crowd.
Flash, you got to do something about that midget. This can't go on any longer.
Now, calm yourself, Millie. What's wrong now?
I don't mind him saying my beard's a fake because it isn't, and I can prove it. Giuseppe and Della can take care of themselves, too. But when he starts picking on Enigma...
Oh, you're crazy. He ain't done nothing to Enigma.
Enigma rang his bell a couple of minutes ago. Della heard it, too. 4 rings for a glass of water. I took it to him, and there was Major Tembo pinching him to see if he could get any muscular reaction. Pinching him real hard. And poor Enigma not able to do a thing about it.
Well, I guess it don't hurt Enigma any. He can't feel anything.
Well, it's the idea. You've got to get rid of Major Tembo.
Look, I'm running Wonderland, and Major Tembo's a good crowd pleaser.
Crowd pleaser? What crowd?
Look, Giuseppe, I'm trying to be nice. I've been taking it on the chin, and I've been paying off in spite of it.
Paying off? You think the nickels and dimes you toss at us is paying off? I could make more money digging ditches.
Yeah? Well, that's what you'll be doing if you don't come out of the tent with me and do the ballyhoo act.
Let Major Tembo do the ballet.
No. Once the towners see him, they won't pay their dough to come inside and look at him. Like with Della, same thing. I tell them she weighs 550 pounds. If they could see, they wouldn't shell out their dough. Oh, no. You don't put your freaks on the ballet. You and me, we got to do it.
Major Tembo can do it. Me? I am not.
I never see such a bunch of squirrels. Why I got into this racket, I don't know. Nursing a bunch of slug-nutty freaks.
I am not a freak. My talent has amazed the greatest scientists of the continent.
Yeah. Store it.
That midget. He insults us. He pushes everybody around. Let him do the ballet.
I ought to fire you, Giuseppe. Now get out on that ballet platform before I bust you one.
You better, Giuseppe. Flash is mad.
What's the matter, Giuseppe? You jealous of Tembo?
Me? Jealous of that little peanut? Jealous of that wart on the finger of humanity? Don't be ridiculous.
Okay, I'll just use Major Tembo. I'll put him on the ballet and show you how a real freak can draw a crowd. I'll show you what a bum you are.
You think you make me cry? He's what I suggest all the time.
Where is he?
I do not keep track of him. The further away from me he is, the better I like.
That's where he'll be. With Moke and Poke. He's got him fighting again. He teases them.
Come on. I'll show him whether he can or not. A little punk. Come on.
That's right, Moke. Hit him in the face. Don't let him get away with it, Poke. Stretch his eyes out. Go ahead, Moke.
Hey, you.
Hi, Flash.
Look, I ought to fold you up and put you in my hip pocket, you little rat.
Aren't you kind of forgetting yourself, Flash?
You want them 2 idiots to kill each other?
I was just enjoying myself, Flash. Some people have fun one way, some another.
Look, you're doing the ballet with me. Now, come on.
Yeah, I know. I heard all about it.
You were eavesdropping on us, listening to what we said.
None of you ever said anything worth listening to.
Some gall you got. Spying on us and not even taking the trouble to deny it.
You think I care what you half-wits think of me?
Listen, Major, you ought to try to get along with the rest of the freaks.
Rest of the freaks? You mean to say you include me in this assortment of malformed monstrosities? Oh, sure. You ain't a freak. Not much. You're a normal-sized guy, you are. My dear tub of lard. Say. I am a perfectly formed individual, which is more than you can say. Furthermore, valuable things come in small packages.
Yeah, you're a package, all right.
You wart?
What am I? How'd you like to go back to the Van Arnhem show, Giuseppe?
Sit down, Della. How are you? Sit down.
Well, I'm afraid of your chairs, Giuseppe. Major Timbo's quite a boy, ain't he?
Me? I will break his little neck myself.
You know, Giuseppe, I keep a file of old Billboard magazines. I got to wondering what the Major meant about you going back to the Van Arnhem show.
Ah, that...
Told a story about a sword swallower on the Van Arnhem show, Giuseppe, from 2 years ago.
I know nothing about.
This sword swallower got into an argument with the boss, and he sort of used one of his swords on him. Then he lit out.
I know nothing about.
The guy's name was Enright, Joe Enright.
I do not know him.
Kind of funny. Joseph Enright. Joseph E. Giuseppe. I'd hate to think I was on a show with a murderer.
If the little walking poison does not quit making such remarks, you will be, Della.
You. What are you doing here? Get out of my tent, you little runt. You nearly scared me to death.
Don't talk in such a raspy voice, Millie. You don't sound like yourself.
I'm myself, all right. And I've taken about enough from you.
I just came in for a little visit, Millie.
I'm not interested in visiting with you.
You're not like the rest of these people, Millie. You're no freak. You're an educated woman. You talk correctly.
If you think you're going to flatter me...
You're intelligent. And that beard of yours is real, Millie. You actually grew it. Quite a time getting a beard like that, I bet. Of course, I know people in the business who'll get a beard started for any woman who wants to be a bearded lady in the sideshow.
What of it?
Some down and outer without any education. I can understand a person like that going for your kind of a racket, Millie. But you're different.
Get out of here.
It bothered me for quite a while, Millie, and I finally tumbled.
Tumbled to what?
Who are you hiding from, Millie? Why did you run away? Who are you afraid's going to find out who you are?
Get out of here before I kill you, you little...
You're hiding your face for a reason, Millie. That beard's a disguise.
Maybe you're right, Major.
Right? Of course I'm right.
If you are, you're not being very smart, are you? Aren't you likely to get into an awful lot of trouble?
You wouldn't dare do anything to me. You wouldn't dare because you're hiding from something. You'll do as I say from now on, Millie, because I've caught you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I show you I have nothing in my hands and nothing up my sleeve. And now, I present one of the greatest magic illusions of all time, the dollhouse illusion. Here you are, ladies and gentlemen, you see the doll's house. A miniature house hardly big enough to hold a large doll. I turn it so, you can see it from all sides. Absolutely no trap doors, no concealed spaces. Now I open the front of the doll's house to show you it's absolutely empty. You see, it's... Wait a minute. What's going on here? Giuseppe, quick, come here, help me.
Something wrong?
Look, it's Major Tembo, all folded up in the dollhouse with a knife through his heart. He's been murdered.
Oh, look, Enigma's been right here, right on the platform next to yours. And it's a cinch he hasn't been away. He'll know who killed Major Tembo. He saw the murder. He had to say it.
Yeah, that's right. Enigmo. Hey, listen, Enigmo. Enigmo, did you know Major Tembo had been murdered?
Once. That means yes.
Did you see Major Tembo killed?
So, whoever killed Major Tembo forget all about Enigma. He see the whole thing. He knows.
Yeah, maybe he knows. Enigmo, you know who killed Major Tembo?
2 times. No, he does know who did it. But if he saw the murder...
Maybe it was done by somebody who is skilled at deception. A magician.
Look, Giuseppe.
Somebody like you.
Who did kill the midget Major Tembo? And why can't Enigmo tell who did it? Why didn't he see the murderer when he saw the murder? We'll find out in the second act of tonight's story. Meanwhile, here's a brief message from our sponsor. And now, Act 2 of Malice in Wonderland. We go back to the tent that houses the Wonderland Circus Sideshow. The midget's body is still in the dollhouse, awaiting the arrival of the coroner.
Look at him with that sneer on his face, like he was still hating us.
Well, I guess he must have had a reason to hate somebody, Della.
Well, I ain't sorry he's dead. He was a mean little troublemaker.
Oh, you ain't sorry he's dead, huh? Well, I am.
There's nothing to be sorry about.
No? You'll change your mind when the hick cops show up.
They can't do nothing to me. I was not even near.
That's just the point, Giuseppe. Whether or not you killed Major Tembo don't make any difference. The little punk's got us all in hot water up to our necks.
I don't know how you figure that, Flash.
Look, Della, I wasn't born yesterday. The midget had something on every one of you. Just like he had on me.
On you?
Yeah, on me. Why do you think I hired the little rat? Why do you think I didn't kick him in the teeth the first day he was around here? Because I was afraid of him, that's why.
Then you had a motive?
Cut it out. We all had motives. We all got something to hide from the cops. When they start digging into this business, we're all going to be in trouble. Bad trouble.
Well, I'm getting out of here.
Oh, no, you ain't. You're staying right here. There's only one thing for us to do, and we got to work fast.
What's that?
We got to find out who the murderer was before the cops get here. We've got to turn the killer over to him before they start prying into our business.
Enigma. He knows who the murderer is.
He says he didn't know.
Well, he can tell us. He saw it.
You do not even know if Enigma has a mind. You know nothing of him but the tinkle of a bell.
Well, it won't hurt to try. Enigma, did any one of us put Major Tembo into that dollhouse? Well, that's something. We know it wasn't one of us who killed him.
Well, then...
Just a minute. Did anybody put Major Tembo into the dollhouse? He says no. You see me? That won't work. Major Tembo hid in the dollhouse himself. He was hiding there to spy on us. All doubled up like he had to be, he could not protect himself, and somebody killed him. Did you see who it was, Enigma? Was Flash near the dollhouse after Major Tembo hid in it?
Yes. Enigma says Flash was there.
Wait a minute. Was Giuseppe near the dollhouse, Enigma?
He lies. I was
And
not.
Major Tembo had a knife in his heart. You're kind of an expert with knives, Giuseppe.
He's done some work of that kind before. On the Van Arnhem
I would
show.
keep my mouth shut if I were you, Della. Listen, Enigma. Was Della near the dollhouse?
Hey,
Well, I guess I'm the only one who wasn't near it then. So I'll kind of take charge of things. What?
Was Millie near the dollhouse, Enigma? You see? He tells us nothing.
Say, do you suppose Enigma's a fake? Maybe Major Tembo knew he was a phony.
You can forget that, Della. Enigma ain't no phony. He had accident and health insurance. The insurance company really gave him the works.
Accident and health insurance?
Yeah.
Then what's he doing this for? If he's got dough, why ain't he in a hospital where he belongs?
Okay. That's what Major Tembo had on me. The show's been losing money all season. That's where I've been getting the dough. Cashing Enigma's insurance checks. I found him when that paralysis was just starting. I kind of took charge of him. Major Tembo got into my stuff and found out about it.
So, you are a very noble man, yes? Preying on a helpless individual.
Well, you ain't so hot yourself. I never killed anybody anyway.
Ain't you getting into this true confession session, Millie?
You shut your fat mouth.
You think Major Tembo did not know about you, Della?
What are you talking about?
He was just holding back. He was busy with the rest of us. You were on his list.
You're lying. He didn't know.
Didn't know what, Della?
Nothing.
Hey, look. Moke and Poke's cage. It's empty.
It's unlocked. I'll bet that's some more of Major Tembo's work.
He let him out and they killed him.
What, those two idiots? Why, they wouldn't be able to figure out how to open the dollhouse. But we gotta find them.
Why? These stupid imbeciles are not worth hunting for.
They could get us into a lot of trouble.
You are already in trouble, Flash.
Yeah. Well, we gotta get Enigma out of here before the cops start asking too many questions. Come on, Giuseppe. Give me a hand. We'll carry his cot back to my trailer.
Not me, Flash. If you want him out of here, go ahead and do it yourself.
You mean to say
I am not looking for a tangle with the law. Me? I think I will be a bystander.
Oh, so you think you're going to frame me into getting a rap for the midget's murder, huh? Well, think again. I'll tell the cops all about you. You and the Van Arnhem show and the guy that got killed.
Stop it. You fools aren't careful, we'll all be in jail. Start trying to get even with each other and we'll all be in trouble. We've got to stick together.
Stick together? You think I would trust any one of you? No, I think not. We waste time. We should all be heading for distant places.
Come back here, you.
Flash! Where'd you get that gun?
Never mind that. Come back, Giuseppe. You ain't leaving me to take the rap. Not on murder.
No? Flash, I do not think you have the nerve to shoot.
I'll show you whether I... Millie, you hit my wrist.
Oh, you fool. Now you're in for it. That shot will bring the cops swarming all over us.
You made me miss him.
You can thank me for keeping you from committing a murder. You idiot.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Uh-oh. Here we go. That looks like police coming in the front entrance of the tent. I don't like the idea they're questioning us one at a time. I'd like to hear what's said.
Oh, you nervous, Della? All they asked me was routine stuff. What I found, you know.
Giuseppe's been with him quite a while, though. And I don't trust him.
Here he comes now.
Oh, hello, Giuseppe.
So, you thought you were very smart, Flash, telling the police about me.
I didn't tell them anything.
Who do you think you fool, eh? Well, they know a lot more now. About you and Enigma.
Why, you dirty little...
Flash, please.
I tell them about your gun, too. How you tried to kill me.
I wasn't trying to kill you. I just didn't want you to run out. You rotten screw.
Stop it! Who's next, Giuseppe?
They asked to talk to Della next.
Okay. Wish me luck, everybody.
Yeah. Suppose she'll spill everything she knows, too.
She will be pretty busy defending herself. What I said about telling the police about you, that was all a bluff.
What? You mean you didn't tell them anything?
Not about you. I threw all the suspicion on Della. I did not want her to know.
But there wasn't anything you could say about Della.
No? I told them how she hated Major Temple, how he knew something about her that had her scared. And I told them how Della borrowed one of my knives yesterday. The same knife we find in Major Tembo's heart.
So you think you're putting me on a spot, do you, Giuseppe?
I simply tell the police the truth.
Why, you dirty lying rat. Telling them I borrowed one of your knives.
Don't you remember that, Della?
You know darn well I don't remember it. I didn't do it. But you needn't think you're so smart.
No?
No. I told them all about the Van Arnhem show and the guy who got stabbed. I really told them. They got some long-distance telephone calls in now.
Why, you devil, you...
Well, what did you think I'd do? Take your lies without fighting back?
I got to get out of here.
Giuseppe. If you're facing a murder rap anyway, looks like you're kind of elected to take this one.
I know nothing about this. The other, it was self-defense. I can prove it. I had to kill that one.
Why did you run away then?
He had friends. Very bad friends. It was from them, not the law, I run.
I bet you killed Major Tembo, too. And wouldn't you have fun telling anybody you killed him in self-defense?
Yeah, Giuseppe might have killed Tembo at that.
Enigma says no.
Enigma says no to everything. He says he saw the murder. Says we was all there at one time or another. Says he saw Major Tembo go into the dollhouse. And then he says he don't know who stabbed him.
Maybe he's holding something back.
He said yes. He is holding something back.
You fools. Don't you get it?
What are you talking about, Della?
Enigma knows who the murderer is. He's known all along.
Well, then why did...
He didn't want either us or the cops to know. Not too soon.
You mean he did it himself? But that's impossible.
Of course it's impossible. He didn't want anybody to know who the murderer was, because if the murderer was caught, that's all there'd be to it. The killer'd be turned over to the police, and that'd be that.
You got something, Della. Enigma says yes again.
Of course he says yes. Enigma wanted every one of us questioned. He wanted all of us put in a tight place where we talked. He figured sooner or later the cops would get the story of what Flash has been doing to him. The way Flash has been robbing him.
Listen, if you think I'm going to let that zombie frame me for this murder...
There's no point to his framing you for murder. All he wants is to get out from under your control.
I didn't kill the midget. I had nothing to do with it.
Just a minute. Enigma, did Flash kill Major Tembo?
You see? He says no.
I don't know nothing about it anyway.
Enigma, if I promise to tell the cops all about Flash and what he's been doing to you, will you tell us who the murderer is?
No, no, you don't. Not yet, Della. You ain't turning me over to the coppers.
Enigma, I promise to tell the cops. I'll tell them all about the way Flash has been cheating you. It's a deal.
Why, you dirty...
I ain't afraid of you, Flash. Put that gun back in your pocket. You don't dare shoot. Not with everybody else looking for somebody to pin a murder onto. I'll tell the cops, Enigma. It's a deal.
Nobody's going to frame me on the testimony of a zombie who can't even talk.
Enigma, was it me who stabbed Major Tembo?
Surprise. You make a deal with him, so he says it wasn't you.
Was it Flash?
Of course it wasn't me.
Was it Millie Enigmo?
Millie?
No.
Millie.
No, I didn't do it. Shut up. Stop ringing that bell. I should have killed you, too. It didn't seem real to me. Couldn't talk, couldn't move. Didn't think you could hurt me. I should have killed you.
Keep away from me, Millie. Looks like the rest of us kind of need Enigmo.
Don't you point that gun at me. I had to kill Major Temple. Flash, on honest I did. He found out about me.
Found out what?
I killed somebody, too. Back 5 years ago. And it wasn't self-defense. I killed a man because I hated him. Nobody should have known, but something went wrong and I had to run away. I was a fugitive hiding from my past. I figured out a perfect way to hide. The bearded lady in a circus sideshow. Who'd ever think of looking for a beautiful girl masqueraded as a bearded lady? Nobody but Major Temple. And I'm glad I killed him. I got even with him.
Yeah, maybe so. But from where I stand, it looks like he kind of got even with the rest of us. The cops are going to have a busy day.
Mystery is my hobby. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Barton Drake speaking. For tonight's drama, I selected case history number 66 from my book, Mystery is My Hobby. I call it Short Distance to Murder. Inspector Danton and I had been requested to attend a political convention that was being held in a fashionable hotel not far from New York. More than 200 guests were present, and during the early evening we were invited to enjoy a concert on the hotel grounds.
That's a pretty interesting number, eh, Bart? That band is really doing itself proud.
Interesting is hardly the word to describe Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, Inspector.
Oh, it's interesting for my dough. Who is this fellow Beethoven, anyway?
He was a composer, Inspector.
A songwriter, right?
Hmm.
I wonder who dreams up his titles. What did you say the name of this number was?
The Fifth Symphony.
Huh. He should have talked to the guy who wrote Cement Mixer Putty Putty if he wanted a title. Hey, what are you looking at?
That group over there near the fountain.
Yeah?
The old gentleman seems to be in trouble.
Yeah. Looks like he's sick. Say, isn't that Alfred Emerson?
I believe it is, Inspector. Well, I guess it isn't anything serious. He's going into the hotel unassisted.
It better not be anything serious. Emerson's going to be our next governor.
Yes, you're probably right. Unless Cliff Goddard gets the nomination.
Goddard hasn't got a chance.
We'll see.
Oh, for God's sake. Now what's the matter?
Emerson's wife seems to be arguing with that dark-haired young man.
Looks like Emerson's secretary, Kent Leslie.
Yes, it does.
Say, that Mrs. Emerson is a looker, isn't she?
Well, she's much younger than her husband, Inspector.
Yeah.
Since Leslie's going to the hotel, he seems to have won the argument.
Probably Mrs. Emerson figured her husband wasn't feeling well or something and wanted to go up and see if he was all right.
And apparently Leslie persuaded her that he should go instead.
Well, that makes sense. If both the Emersons left, the party would be a bust. Oh, might as well get back to Beethoven. I guess nothing exciting is going to happen after all.
Did you expect something exciting to happen, Inspector?
I gotta be on the lookout. That's what they're paying me for.
Always the adventure at heart, eh, Inspector?
Well,
now will you please sit back and enjoy the music?
Say, how long does this number last?
The first movement should be over shortly, Inspector.
First movement?
Yes.
You mean we gotta sit here and...
Look, Inspector.
Huh?
Someone to see.
Oh, hello, son. What's on your mind? What? Speak up.
I don't think he wants anyone but you to hear, Inspector.
with all this noise? Huh? What was that? Good gosh.
Something wrong, Inspector?
I'll say something's wrong. Alfred Emerson has just committed suicide.
Please get on the way.
All right. Gangway. Break it up.
I beg your pardon.
Come on. Let's through here. Come on, Bud.
I'm right behind you, Inspector.
Crowds like that remind me of vultures.
Sudden death never fails to attract a mob, Inspector. Well,
Glad you're here, Inspector Gatton. I'm Cora Emerson.
Cora Emerson. I thought you were down listening to the concert.
I was.
you got up here rather quickly, didn't you, Mrs. Emerson?
Quickly? I don't believe I understand. I was on my way up when the shot was fired.
Oh, I see. Well, that explains it. I hadn't noticed that you left the garden.
Where's the body? I mean, your husband, Mrs. Emerson.
In the bedroom. You'll just step in here, please.
Say, Bart,
Hmm?
for a lady who's just lost her husband, I wouldn't say she was exactly heartbroken, would you?
No, I wouldn't, Inspector.
Hey, sir, I tell you, you're crazy. Oh, am I, Leslie? We'll see. Oh, well, here's Mrs. Emerson now with the police.
Cora, this crazy loon says that I did the work.
Gentlemen, this is my husband's secretary, Mr. Kent Leslie, and this is Mr. Ralph Dexter. Inspectors Owen Danton and Martin Drake.
Hi.
How are you,
How do you do?
gentlemen?
Well, gentlemen, you seem to have arrived just in time. Why so?
He's going to tell you that I murdered Mr. Emerson, of all the crazy fools.
Calling me crazy is a poor defense, Leslie.
All right.
All right. Let's save that until later. Where's the body?
Alfred is lying there on the bed, Inspector.
On the bed. Oh, my gosh. Then some dumbhead moved him.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, I don't mean you, lady. He's too big for you to lift. Don't look at me, Inspector. I didn't move him.
Neither did I.
No, of course not. Now, look. Somebody...
Inspector, suppose we take a look.
Good idea. And nobody leaves this room until I say so. Understand?
Look, Inspector, come here.
Yeah, what, Bart?
By the position of the body, I'd say he could have fallen across the bed after he was shot, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe you're right at that.
The bullet made a clean hole through his head. That means we should be able to locate it here in this room.
What good will that do us? We haven't got the gun. The gun is on the floor at your feet, Inspector. On the... Well. Huh. So it is. Imagine that.
Be careful, fingerprints, Inspector.
I'll be careful. Nobody'll touch the doggone gun until the fingerprint boys get here. What are you looking at, Bart?
Powder burns, Inspector. There are definite traces on the right side of Emerson's head.
A close-range shot, eh?
Possibly.
That means it could have been suicide.
Unless it happens that Emerson was left-handed.
Yeah, that's so. Now, don't waste your time, gentlemen. Alfred Emerson was right-handed. This guy seems to know all the answers, Bart, so how's about us asking a few questions just to keep the balance even, eh?
I think that's a good suggestion, Inspector.
Well, have you gentlemen decided that Emerson was murdered?
Why do you insist that Alfred was murdered, Ralph? I'm positive it was suicide.
And why are you so positive, Mrs. Emerson?
Alfred was suffering from a heart ailment and had an attack during the concert. He was morbidly afraid of being a helpless invalid.
Look, lady, a man who is about to become elected governor doesn't go shoot himself just because he has heart trouble. Not for my dough, he doesn't.
You wouldn't say that if you'd known Alfred Emerson, Inspector. He had a phobia against a lingering illness.
You've got to think of better ones than that if you want to get out of this, Leslie.
Listen, Dexter, why don't you shut up? Why do you insist on being such a sorehead just because I talked Mr. Emerson out of that political job for your son-in-law?
Watch your lip, you young pup.
Ralph, you know that you're letting that incident prejudice your thinking.
Prejudice my... All right, Cora, and why not? You know I dumped enough money into your husband's campaign to ask for a few favors.
You should know that Alfred never sought votes by offering political favors.
Oh, no? But, you know, there's one interesting thing about this deal. We don't have to ask questions to get the answer.
The trouble is, Inspector, we're not getting the right kind of answers.
I guess we better take over, eh?
An excellent idea, Inspector.
All right, now. Who discovered the body? I did. I was in my room at the end of the hall. I heard a shot, came directly here, and found young Lester standing over Al's body.
That's a lie. I wasn't anywhere near the body. I was there by the door.
You're going to have a sweet time proving that, son.
Suppose you tell us your version of the story, Leslie. Sure, I'll tell him. I haven't anything to hide. Good. Mr. Emerson had a heart attack during the concert. He said he was going up to his room. Cora wanted to go with him, but we dissuaded her. After Mr. Emerson had gone, Cora was still worried, so I said I'd go up. Emerson. Mr. Emerson. Out of the bedroom. Mr. Emerson? In the bedroom. Mr. Emerson? Stop. Mr. Emerson! Mr. Emerson! Mr. Emerson. He's dead. Dexter. What are you doing here?
Something wrong, Leslie?
Where'd you come from?
Oh, just checked in, heard the shot, and came down to investigate. Got tired of waiting, eh, Leslie?
What do you mean I got tired of waiting? What are you talking about?
You know what I'm talking about, son. Are you sure that you wiped off your fingerprints?
Wiped off my fingerprints?
From the gun. That's always the first thing a murderer should think of, you know.
Murder? Take that back around.
Attacking me is only going to make it look worse. Better be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be careful. What's the matter, Dexter? Did Cliff Goddard turn down your offer of money for that job for your son-in-law?
As a matter of fact, I didn't ask him. I didn't have to.
Oh, no?
No, I talked to your boss over long distance this morning. And he promised to take care of everything.
It's a lie. I happen to know that... Who's that?
Ken! Ken!
Cora. Gotta keep her out of here. Cora, don't...
Ken, is Alfred all right?
Cora, go back into the other room. Don't come in here.
No, let me. Is that Alfred on the bed? What's happened to him? Ken, he's been shot.
That's right, Cora. Shot. And who do you think shot him?
Shut up, Dexter.
Why? I'll have to talk later. Why not now? Cora, your late husband, trusted secretary, seems to have murderous instincts.
Kent, you didn't.
Of course I didn't. Mr. Emerson shot himself. I heard the shot and went in to investigate. Dexter found me there and immediately jumped to conclusion.
I'll say I did. Jumped and hit the bullseye.
I don't believe that, Ralph. Not a word of it. Kent, I think you'd better get a bellboy and send for Inspector Bratton. He's in the garden with Bart and Drake.
Well, that's the way it happened. None of us has touched anything till we two got here.
Well, that's an interesting story. How about it, Dexter? Is that the way it happened? That's good enough. There wouldn't be any good in the kid lying.
Of course I wouldn't lie. I've got nothing to hide.
Mrs. Emerson, a few minutes ago, you said you were on your way up here when the shot was fired.
That's right. I was on the stairs.
According to Leslie's story, considerable time elapsed after the shot was fired before you arrived. You must have been down on the second floor.
Well?
I'm just wondering if you could have heard that shot from down there.
I didn't say I heard it. I said I was on my way up here when the shot was fired. I just reasoned that the shot must have been fired at that time.
I see. Leslie?
Yes?
Is this the door that you tried to open and found locked after you heard the shot?
Yes. Only it wasn't locked. It was stuck. Mr. Emerson's been complaining about it ever since his arrival.
Huh. Well, possibly you're right, but I don't think so.
What do you mean you don't think so?
I'll explain in a minute. Inspector, I think you'd better send for the medical examiner and the fingerprint men. In the meantime, suppose we try and locate that bullet that passed through Emerson's head.
Okay, first I'll phone the... You won't have to waste your time looking for the bullet, gentlemen. There's a hole in the closet door on the other side of the bed. By golly, Bart, he's right.
Yes, I see he is, Inspector.
I imagine you'll find your bullet somewhere inside the closet. I'll take a look.
You have sharp eyes, Dexter.
Thank you. It's easy to figure out what happened, isn't it? If Emerson were standing up, his head would be in a direct line with the hole in the closet door.
Does that mean he didn't commit suicide? Find it, Inspector?
Yep. Here it is. It was caught on the sleeve of a coat hanging in the closet.
What caliber is it?
Looks like a .38. Same as the gun.
So.
Well, we still don't know if Emerson shot himself. You would if you knew anything about wood, Inspector. Wood? Wood, Inspector. That closet door is made of white oak, which is a pretty hard wood. Well, what about it? What about it? Yeah. Why, that's a clean hole through the door panel. Quit talking in riddles. So, what if it is a clean hole? Well, if you know anything about wood, you'd know what I was talking about.
What Dexter's trying to say, I think, Inspector, is that if the speed of the bullet were retarded by passing through Emerson's head, it wouldn't have had enough momentum to penetrate the heavy oak of the closet door.
That's it, Drake. Therefore, Emerson couldn't have committed suicide. Let me get this straight. The bullet that killed Emerson didn't have enough speed to penetrate the closet door. All right. Now, there is a hole through the closet door. That means that 2 shots must have been fired.
You are catching on, Inspector.
2 shots weren't fired. I was in the other room. I know.
Sure you know, Leslie. Now let's see you talk your way out of it.
Dexter, I've got a half
Just
a mind
a moment, please. Dexter, you've been riding rather high, wide, and handsome in this case. Suppose you stop advancing theories and accusations and answer a few questions yourself.
Not a bad idea.
I should be very glad to accommodate you, gentlemen.
Fine. You told us a few minutes ago that you heard a shot and came up here to investigate. How many shots did you hear?
2. Why didn't you say so before?
Nobody asked me.
Oh, wise guy, eh?
Excuse me, Inspector. Now then, if 2 shots were fired, what happened to the second bullet?
That's your problem, son. You'll have to find it yourself.
We'll try to, I assure you, Dexter. That door over there opens onto the hall, doesn't it, Mrs. Emerson?
Yes, it does.
And there's a door which opens into the hall from the sitting room, which means, of course, that Emerson's murderer could have escaped into the hall while Leslie was still wrestling with that shut door.
Say, that's right.
Oh, that's what I call grasping at straws.
Is it, Dexter? What do you think, Mrs. Emerson?
I suppose by that you mean that I could have shot my husband.
I mean that you had the time and the opportunity. So did Dexter. And certainly Leslie was in an excellent position to do so.
Then you're quite sure that Alfred didn't commit suicide?
I know he didn't, Mrs. Emerson. He was murdered. And I know who murdered him. That's probably headquarters, Inspector. You'd better answer.
Yeah. Hello? Jansen speaking. Yeah, hello, Charlie. What's the story? It was, eh? Emerson died as a result of a gunshot, Doc. His heart was okay.
Well, I'm not surprised. Are you, Inspector?
I ceased being surprised at the age of 12. Go ahead, Charlie. Is that a fact? Well. Okay, thanks. What do you know? No fingerprints on the gun.
I didn't think there would be. Did you, Inspector?
No, I guess not. Would have made things too easy. Well, let's go in and arrest the guilty party.
No, wait a minute. Not so fast, Inspector.
What's the matter? You said you knew who murdered Emerson.
I do, Inspector, but as you know...
Yeah, I know. We've got to have the proof before you go accusing anyone.
Right.
Well, look, if we haven't got the proof now, how are we going to get it?
I don't think it's going to be too difficult.
You don't, eh? We haven't found that second bullet yet, you know.
That's because it went out the window, Inspector.
Out the window? How do you know?
What other answer can there be? We've searched every inch of this room and found no trace. The window was open when we entered,
So it went out the window. That means that Emerson must have been standing in line with the window when the shot was fired. I still don't see...
Never mind, Inspector. Now, suppose we go and have a talk with our suspects. 1 or 2 more questions, a little stratagem, your able assistance in a plan I have, and I think we'll be able to corral our murderer.
Is that you, Kent?
Yes,
Are they still in there?
Yes, but I can't hear anything.
Do you think they'll find the other bullet?
I don't know. I suppose so. See if there is another bullet.
Kent, there's something I want to tell you.
Huh?
I did hear the shot fired, Kent. I wasn't on the 2nd floor. I was right outside the door to the bedroom.
You couldn't have been. There wasn't time.
There was time, Kent. Listen, I was down on the 2nd floor when the first shot was fired. I didn't hear it. No one did but Ralph.
Now, wait a minute, honey. I couldn't...
No, Kent. Let me go on. I came up here and was just about to enter the living room when the second shot was fired.
You couldn't have been. Don't you see you couldn't? Ralph came into the living room before you did. Cora,
Yes, Kent?
you're lying. Deliberately. Why?
Oh, Kent, don't you see why? Can't you understand that I'm trying to...
Sorry to keep you folks waiting so long, but we were... Oh, something wrong here?
No, everything's all right, Mr. Drake.
Where's Dexter?
He went back to his room.
Oh, he did. He's got a nerve. Now, I've half a
I
mind
don't think we've anything to worry about, Inspector. Dexter will be around when we want him. Right now, I think we'd better listen to what Mrs. Emerson and Leslie have to say.
What we have to say? What do you mean?
Haven't you something to tell us, Leslie?
No, we've told you everything we know.
Have you? How about you, Mrs. Emerson?
Oh, what's the use? You're bound to find out sooner or later. And I suppose it will be worse.
Be careful, Cora. You're right, Mrs. Emerson. If you're hiding something and we find out later, it will be worse.
All right. Kent and I are in love.
Good night. Is that all?
Is that all? Well, to us, that's rather important, Inspector Danton.
Well, to me, it's a lot of...
Inspector. Huh? The inspector and I guessed that you and Leslie were in love some time ago, Mrs. Emerson.
You knew?
Yes. The fact that your husband's secretary addressed you by your first name, plus the fact that you were so little disturbed by Emerson's death, was ample evidence.
I see. Oh, but you must believe that there was nothing sordid about our regard for each other. Alfred knew. He was quite willing to give me a divorce. We decided to wait until after the election.
Everything just hunky-dory with all parties concerned, eh? Nope, I'm not buying that. I've heard that routine several times before.
But it's true, Inspector Danton. Every word is true.
Sure. It's also true that it gives you and your boyfriend here a motive for murder. Bart, how about putting that excellent plan of yours into execution and get this over with? Or are we running an advice to the Lovelorn Bureau?
Inspector, your sarcasm is a stimulant.
Yeah.
Is Clancy still on guard out in the hall?
He is, unless he's fallen asleep. I wouldn't blame him if he did. This is about the
Splendid.
dullest.
I'd like to talk to Clancy a minute, and then the four of us can call on Mr. Dexter in his room and enact the final drama, right? May we come in, Dexter?
Oh, please do. Well, now that we're all together again, sit down and make yourselves comfortable.
I'm standing. This isn't any tea party, you know.
Oh, suit yourself, Inspector. Well, Drake, I suppose this is the big moment. You're going to identify the murderer of Albert Emerson.
Not quite, Dexter. The murderer is going to identify himself.
That'll be a good trick if it works. Well, tell us about it.
First, let me tell you what happened this evening. Do you mind?
No, I'd like to hear your version of it.
His version will be right. You can bet your boots on that, mister.
Thank you, Inspector. When Emerson got up to his room after leaving the concert, the murderer was waiting for him. He was in the bedroom. Emerson didn't see him at first. He walked over to the window, opened it to get a breath of air. While he was standing there, the murderer shot him.
And the bullet went through his head and out the window, eh?
That's it exactly, Inspector.
Well, that sounds simple enough. And then what happened?
It was simple, Dexter. The murderer then carried Emerson's body to the bed and arranged it so that it would appear he had fallen. And at this moment, the murderer heard someone come into the living room.
Right, so far, Drake. It was I. I'd heard the shot and came running down.
It couldn't have been you, Dexter. It was I.
It's your turn to claim it as you, lady. Go ahead, Bart.
The murderer then shot a second bullet through the closet door.
Why?
So that it would appear that Emerson had shot himself while standing near the bed. And so that the person who was in the living room would hear the shot and discover Emerson lying on the bed, thereby making it appear to be suicide.
Then there were two shots. I did hear one.
You couldn't help but hear it, lady, if you fired it.
If I fired it.
Cora couldn't have fired it. I know.
Oh, you do? What happened then, Bart?
Then, Inspector, the murderer hastily wiped off his fingerprints and went into the hall from the bedroom and entered the living room.
Sort of a merry-go-round deal, eh?
Get to the point, Drake. Who was this murderer?
Under the circumstances, Dexter, I'll have to ask you to... What was that?
What was it? It was a shot. Clancy must be in trouble. Come on, Bart.
Right you are. Either that or we've made a mistake and our murderer is at large.
Which way did the shot come from, anyway?
Down this way, I think.
No, it wasn't. It came from that direction.
How about it, Dexter? In which room was that shot fired?
Well, how should I know? I'm not a mind reader. You're the detective.
You see, Dexter, the murderer did identify himself, didn't he?
Oh, you're pretty smart, Drake. Now let's see if you're smart enough to figure this one out. I'm ready for him, Inspector.
What's that they're playing now?
Beethoven's Fifth, Inspector.
Doesn't that band know any other number? They were playing Beethoven's Fifth when we left. This crowd must be gluttons for punishment if they want to hear it twice.
They're not hearing it twice, Inspector. This is the last movement we're hearing now.
The last move? You mean the same number has been going on all this time?
Yes, that's right, Inspector.
Holy smoke. That fellow Beethoven must have worked nights to turn out stuff that long. By the way, Ralph Dexter was a lumber dealer, wasn't he?
Yes, he certainly was, Inspector. That's why he knew about the bullet going through the closet door. He had to advance the murder theory because he was afraid that someone else might remember that the speed of the bullet would be retarded.
Uh-huh. And the reason he wanted his son-in-law to get the political appointment was because the kid would throw a lot of business his way, eh?
That's right, Inspector. Apparently, he and Emerson quarreled, and he shot him in a fit of anger.
That was pretty cute, the way you made Dexter show his hand.
Oh, thank you, Inspector. You remember when we first questioned Dexter? He said he was sitting in his room when he heard the shot? And he came directly to Emerson's room.
So he said.
Mm-hmm. But Dexter was quartered some distance down the hall, and I wondered how he knew where Emerson's room was located and how he knew that the shot came from that room.
Yes, sir. Pretty cute. When Clancy shot off his gun, Dexter didn't know where the shot came from any more than anyone else. The trouble with Dexter was he didn't know that
mystery is my hobby.